Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Galactic Nerd Outpost. I am your host, Joey McGee, aka Gojin the Makai Phantom, and joining me is once again my lovely co-host, Cody Bratch.
Spoiler alert, Godzilla Minus One is the best movie of the year.
Yes, it is indeed. Wrong image. Okay, give me a second. Okay, I need to click... And today what we're going to be doing is discussing a lot of things, as you can tell from the title, primarily Godzilla related, and what we'll be starting with, of course, is Monarch Legacy of Monsters, the two episodes that we didn't tack on the last, 4 and 5. Of course, as everyone, and I mean fucking everyone knows at this point, Godzilla Minus One has pretty much took the whole world by storm. It's not only dominating the Japanese box office still, it's dominating the American box office. And I know there's a few folks I've seen that try to downplay that by going, oh, it's not making the same money as a Hollywood movie. Which, like, one, not only is it less, it took a lot less money to make, because it's not even $15 million. Like, when the $15 million budget was brought to Yamazaki himself said... What Yamazaki said was this: I wish it was 15 million, so it was even cheaper than that. But you also have to go into the fact that this film is going from number 1 and number 2 at the box office with a limited run and not being nearly as advertised, and it's still getting more people to go to the theater than fucking Hollywood movies.
Yeah, some people might want to downplay it, but the fact is, consistently, since it's been released in America, it's made at least $1 million a day at the box office. $2 million on Friday, $11 million when it first came out over the weekend. And so it's just like, bruhs, this movie is profitable because it's such a low budget and because they're getting so much back from it. There's a whole lot of factors to bring in here. It doesn't matter if it makes under $100 million. So long as it's profitable, it's profitable.
Yeah, and even then, like I said, I think considering this is a limited run movie, not shown in as much it isn't in nearly as much theaters as a Hollywood movie, nor is it what's the word I'm looking for? Nor is it given the same advertisement level. Yet it's the number 1 selling movie on Fandango's website, and it keeps switching to number 1 place. It's doing fucking amazing. That's why I feel like if Toho would give this a full run, which I think they are kind of testing the waters, because they said Minus One's going nowhere, mainly because they're seeing how long it could keep making money on this limited run, so they keep extending it till eventually they just see it's more profitable to take it out of the theater.
Here's how I understand it. Basically, what they're doing with this approach is the same approach they do in Japan, a sort of wait and see. Wait to see how long it's going to go and keep it going until it's not bringing as many profits. Like, for example, in Japan right now, after making $26 million altogether in just Japan alone, it's slowly starting to not bring in as many profits. So it's just now starting to be pulled from theaters. And I think they're taking that same approach here with America. Like, they've opened it up in more theaters, as you mentioned. Like, still half as many as a Hollywood-made movie would get, but still, the fact that it went from 1,000 plus to 2,000 plus and climbing is still fairly impressive. So long as I think that so long as it keeps making $1 million a day, $1 million just magically slaps into a Toho executive's hand, it'll keep on making its way through the theatrical system.
Exactly. That's why I say that eventually, like, it's doing great right now due to word of mouth. That's why I feel like eventually the Toho is... I think there's a future. There's going to be full-run foreign media movies here in the United States. Because the thing is, this film is doing really fucking good. Like...
I like Warrior Thomas's comment here. It went from -1 to $1 million quickly.
Yeah. But yeah, and to my knowledge, it's still in the top 2 in the Japanese box office as well.
Yeah, we should really be saving the talk for minus one for the minus one section of the video. But I just gotta say, the fact that they made a movie that looks visually as good as minus one does on such a low budget, Hollywood, do fucking better. You no longer have any excuses.
Yep. And like, there's some people that are, of course, just Yankee. Like, they are just desperately clinching on to the dying testicles of fucking Marvel Comics, just because they want the quality of old Marvel movies, yet they are still going crazy over the crap that's being put out now, and are being like, oh, I don't want to watch minus one. And it's like they'll say, oh, minus one's not the best movie of the year. It's like, I have a question. Did you watch it? Japan's just doing way better than Hollywood as a whole. Like, the top 2 movies in the American box office right now are 2 Japanese movies, minus one and The Boy and the Heroine.
No, Heron.
The Heroine. Okay, I'm a dickhead. That was an accident. The Boy and the Heron.
I think you're on heroin right now.
Yeah, I think so too. Oh god. But in addition
to Monarch and minus one, we're also going to be talking about what was revealed in the first full trailer that was dropped for Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire too.
Oh, definitely. As seen in this thumbnail here, we'll be giving our thoughts on that.
Yes.
But now we just gotta wait for Trevor to fucking show up so we can get to analyzing the Monarch episodes.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I was a little bit surprised because I was actually expecting him and like 2 other people. I thought we were gonna have a full panel today.
Oh, we have a full panel. Like, we got you, we got Trevor, and we got one other dude. And we got one other dude coming, 2 other dudes coming for the minus one section. One's Jeiku, Jeiku from the Discord server.
Yeet.
And of course, the other is Sosapotence, since he got around to seeing minus one. I'm curious what he's gonna say, because he's a cool dude, but he's also a bit of a normie. So this is his only Godzilla. I believe this is the only Godzilla film he's fucking watched, and it's like, yeah. So it's gonna be interesting to discuss this with him.
Oh, a filthy casual, eh?
Hey,
shut him! Cast him out! Opinion automatically invalid.
Uni Warrior Thomas said, "I have a meme relating to the running image. Can I share it in Discord? Of course. It's always welcome to post in the Discord server." Where the fuck is Trevor at?
I honestly think he might be asleep.
He might be. He actually might. Well, if that's the case, he's going to miss the Monarch section.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
So, what were you going to say? What were you going to say?
Which is a shame, considering he's a MonsterVerse twat.
I mean, so am I, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right here. So I can't shit talk you as much.
I've never stopped you before.
True. Oh god. But
in that case, maybe since we already have someone here, thank you for that, by the way, Thomas. Perhaps we should. I love that meme.
Get to discussing Monarch.
Yes.
Okay.
As best we can.
Okay, let me go to the first. Oh, shit. Give me a second. Now, I put these in a order, but they're not in order on here, so god damn.
I'll put you in order, boy.
Are you flirting with me?
Baby.
Okay.
I mean, it's still funny, Thomas. Isn't that what matters the most? Don't hurt yourself now, Joey.
This is getting frustrating. Oh, fucking hell.
So I guess while he's doing that, I should say, what a time to be a Godzilla fan. We got 2 different Godzilla comic books from IDW, a crossover comic book between Godzilla Kong, the MonsterVerse versions, and the DC Universe. We got 2 great short films from November, the Gemstone one and the Suitmation one. Then we get Minus One in theaters, and what a run it's had so far. Talk about an underdog story. And then we get a trailer drop for the next entry of the MonsterVerse. And then over there on the side is Monarch still going at it.
Yep.
Yeah. In fact, Monarch's been doing so good. Every time I've gone to Apple TV Plus, it's #1 on their most watched list, which is amazing.
Yep. Question, Cody. Would you say this is a good starting image for the podcast?
I mean, I don't see why not.
Okay. Because, of course, but let's get on to episode 4 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. But yeah, this episode I thought was really good. Like, of course, I watched this like the day after I went to see Minus One, and I'm not saying it's inferior because both are really good, but this was actually dark for a MonsterVerse thing. Darker than I was expecting. But since it was after I seen Minus One, it felt like I was watching New Empire or GxK in tone. And that's only because a testament of how dark and traumatic Minus One is. But it just does a really good job at putting in the thriller elements. The lead characters are stuck out in the cold and can't even keep themselves warm because the monster is attracted to the heat they put up. Even all the psychological fuckery is taking a toll on the characters. It's just a very well done episode that builds suspense and kind of leaves you wondering if some of the things our lead character saw was actually there, leaving room to explore in later episodes, or if it was just the cold getting to their minds and setting them insane.
Right on. For me, all I can say is that I haven't been able to watch Monarch like without some sort of interruptions. Like, for example, I have a crappy internet connection apparently, because every time I try to watch Monarch on Apple TV Plus, it has to stop and buffer like a lot. So like it doesn't feel like I'm getting the full experience from that. And also the fact that I'm watching it with family who will not stop talking through it. So it's just like, could you please not? This means something to me. I'm trying to watch this. Why are you all being assholes and talking over it? So it's just like, wow.
Yeah, I know that feeling wholeheartedly. But...
So because of the fact that I haven't been able to get the full Monarch experience, it's going to be a little bit harder for me to critique and analyze it. So all I can say right now is that I'm engaged. I'm enjoying watching it. I'm curious to see where it's going to go. And I think that's how it's always going to be with me. Like on that first initial viewing, I'm always going to be fascinated because I'm experiencing it for the first time and I want to see where it can go. And then like either after a rewatch or after I've let it settle in on the first watch, I'd be more able to give a good critical analysis. But as for right now, I'm enjoying it, although I do have my own little minor complaints.
Exactly. But even though with the psychological fuckery that's taking a toll on everybody involved in this situation, Kurt Russell's charisma here is just enough where it keeps the stakes feeling high while lightening the mood just a tad, working in the character's favor, given he's already survived far worse in his life. So he's got no reason to take this particular situation all that seriously. It lightens the mood without taking away from it, which is something, honestly, the Monsterverse kind of needs in its favor, because a lot of the time, like in KOTM's favor, the humor was just the typical Marvel throw shit at the wall and see what sticks approach. In this case, it makes sense why he's cracking jokes, because, like I said, he's been through a lot.
Yeah, it's sort of I've already done this like 5 times in my life. You can't scare me with this anymore.
Exactly. Like, it shows that he just finds it, well, another situation for him, while all the other characters are panicking because they're not used to it. It shows the different dynamic in their relationship and how, as a whole, he's overall more mature than them. He has a lot of mystery to his character, and the episode brings a lot to that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's a lot of people have brought this up, but I'm only just now starting to see it. It seems like older Shaw is keeping a few secrets from the other characters, and we get confirmed as much when he says to Vordu in the following episode, I haven't let them figure everything out yet. So it's just like, what secrets are you hiding there, Shaw? I don't think he's going to be a secret villain or anything, but I think that his ultimate goal in this show is to get rid of the Titans, because he feels the world would be better off without them.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I do want to say is I think this episode really did a great job for some good character bonding moments, because you aren't sure if anybody will freeze to death, and if so, who? Like, you'll notice Kentaro is going out of his mind from the weather and begins hallucinating. It's very convincing because... One minute. It is very convincing because... It's very convincing because it brings out the emotions he's been attempting to bottle up in front of the others. And one of the things that I like this episode leaves is the breadcrumbs around Kentaro and Kate's father. Like, on one hand, you know he was given help. On the other, you're left unsure if it was exactly what Kentaro thought, since, again, the storm was fucking with his mind. So I'm wondering if this would be used to create optimism on both ends, only for them to leave with disappointment, or what. I'm not sure. We'll find out. But again, he got something out of it. This whole thing helped them escape. It led to the happy ending. But it's also important to note, Kentaro wasn't all there.
That's true. I want to ask you about a theory that's been floating around. Some people have suggested that in addition to exhaustion and the storm causing him to hallucinate, some people have also theorized that the Titan radiation in the area from the Frost of Arc and whatever that light was might also be causing him to hallucinate a bit. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, that's something me and my brothers actually did kind of interpret on first when we first saw the father show up, was the Frost of Arc was kind of fucking with him. But again, that's just an interpretation for now and something we'll find on their journey. Because we know this episode has sent them on their journey to find him more, because now they at least think he's alive, but we, the audience, aren't sure. We know what he was dealing with. For all we know, he could have been hallucinating from the cold or what the Frost of Arc was doing to him. Which, if that's the case, I gotta say, it is pretty cool that the Monsterverse has a more supernatural ability type kaiju. That was able
I don't think it was the Frost of Arc doing it to him directly. The theory is that the excess radiation coming off of him is what did it. It wasn't an intentional decision on the Frost of Arc's part. It's just a result of it living and radiation coming off of it. That's the theory.
I'd say the other one is possible too, but this one I'd say is also a possibility. But again, we don't know because they left it ambiguous enough where we have to find out later. We don't know. Kentaro thinks he knows, but we know the situation he was in.
Right on, right on. Something else I really enjoy about this episode was the fact that it showed a little bit of what Kentaro's life was like before the whole Monarch thing happened. It showed that he was in fact an artist and that he was actually climbing his way up in the world, even almost had his own art exhibit at a gallery. But then, like, on the night of its opening, he sort of just dipped out for whatever reason. And we learned that part of that reason, I say part of it because I don't know if it's the whole thing, that is that his father was there, and for some reason he seems like he's under a lot of pressure to live up to what he thinks his father's expectations of him are. At least that's what the hallucination at the end implies when he sees his father in that art exhibit.
Exactly. Like, again, there's so much mystery from the episode that leaves a lot for upcoming works that episode 5 did go deeper into, which we'll get into that soon. But Tokupunk said, I've 1 minute. There's a lot in the chat. But hey, that's good. Tokupunk said, "What's up? What did I miss? You missed nothing. The MonsterVerse is so fucking dead, LMAO. I don't agree with that. Like, Monarch Legacy of Monsters, honestly, I think is at least objectively speaking, because I have the least critiques. I'm talking about objective critiques here for it than I do all the other entries. And it's like and also GvK was a lot of fun, and New Empire, I'm expecting the traditional MonsterVerse flaws, but overall it'll probably still be fun.
Right on. Something else that this episode shows us is it actually shows us how Kentaro and Mei met each other and sort of just got together before their relationship fell apart. It was a nice detail that they showed. It's nice knowing where they started and also where they are currently in as juxtaposed to where they are currently in the show.
Yeah, exactly.
But something I gotta point out is we did talk about her in the last podcast, even though I meant to, the character of Mei. Up till now, I've actually really liked Mei. I kind of understood where she was coming from. Here's this jerk-ass ex-boyfriend that ghosted her for months, and then all of a sudden he's coming asking her for help. It's like, oh, I'll pay you. And it's like, oh, you just want to pay me like a $2 hooker now? And then, like, she ends up getting whisked away on some sort of thing that she never asked to be a part of. And even though she's been quite bitchy up to this point about it, I can kind of understand it because I don't know how many people have read the character profile on her, so just in case I won't spoil it, but I will say she's had a checkered past, and because of that, she was trying to keep a low profile, so she kind of resents being thrust into the crosshairs of another government organization. But then in this episode, it dawns on me, like, a good chunk of what's going on is her fault. I mean, she went behind Kentaro's back and dug through those digital databank files and whatnot without his say-so, and then, like, has the gall to say, how dare you put this on me, even though half of it is she puts on herself. And then she's being absolutely rude to him and Shaw and Kate to a lesser extent this whole time, and then has the gall to, like, thrust the data files on Shaw at one point during this episode, and then gets mad when he actually takes them, because, like, he knows that a lot of those data files are very important. And same with the paper files that they find in Hiroshi's tent later on when they take shelter there, but he still ultimately burns them because he's trying his best not to be a super controlling dipshit to everyone. He's trying to let everyone go their own speed, so to speak, which is also why Kentaro ultimately ends up taking off, even though in all honesty, he probably shouldn't have. They probably shouldn't have let him go off on his own. And we find out, especially that they shouldn't have let him go on his own because thought they were following this light, but then it turns out their minds were getting fucked with, and they ended up going in a bit of a circle, which brings them back to Hiroshi's tent, and then also brings them into the crosshairs of the Frostmark yet again. So it's just like, and the whole time, May's complaining. Admittedly, I kind of get why, because like she ends up half frozen a bit because, well, she was stepping on some thin ice and ended up falling through while they were hiding from the Frostmark at the beginning of the episode. So it's just like, I kind of get it, but at the same time, no one held a gun to her and said she had to be here for all this. She could have easily gone off on her own direction, and that would be it. But then we wouldn't have her in the plot if she did that.
That is a fair point. I actually haven't really thought about May in that regard, but now that you mention it, yeah, a lot of this kind of is her fault. I don't hate her, but yeah, she has done a lot of dumb decisions now that you mention it. Now, for some reason, I do notice a lot of people don't like Kate or Kentaro, and it's like, why? Like, yeah, they're not exactly nice people. They're not behaving like nice people at the beginning, but here's the thing. Again, like I said, think of it, like I said in the last podcast, think of it from their perspective of their mom just cheated, finding out that that their dad, their shared father, cheated on their mothers with another woman. So it's like, of course they're going to be salty. And as time goes on, that relationship is starting to soften up more. They're becoming comfortable with each other. They're both learning more about their father. They're learning more from their extended family. So it's like, I don't understand the problem with them. While May, on the other hand, has a similar trauma. The issue with her is it's the fact that she's just doing a lot of dumb shit, as you mentioned it.
Yeah. Now, there's a bit of a conundrum here. On one hand, you don't want your characters to be all nice and perfect because they can handle anything, no problem, because that's not really realistic and that's not compelling. On the other, they have to be flawed to an extent. However, at the same time, there gets a point where they're like too flawed and too unlikable to the point where like you have a hard time wanting to follow their story and wanting to root for them. There's some sort of middle ground that has to be met. And in my opinion, they've met it so far with Kentaro and Kate.
I agree wholeheartedly, 100%.
I don't care for Kate saying in this episode that Kentaro abandoned them or left them, even though, because in all honesty, no, they just let him go off on his own. But I like that despite all that, her and Kentaro still are getting close despite the little mishaps they have together. They get even closer in the next episode, which I can't wait to talk about that.
Well, yeah, I'd say we should move on to the next episode. What about you, Cody?
I guess we'd better... Oh, something I gotta say for both episodes, actually. No flashbacks to the 50s. Anyone else notice that?
Yeah, I noticed that too, which I do want more of those flashbacks because, like, I did really enjoy getting into Akiko and John Goodman's character, getting to know them better, especially since John Goodman's character needed it, since Kong Skull Island, as fun as it is, again, when it came to the best characters of that movie, they were carried by their actors.
Right on. Oh, before we move on to episode 5, one more thing I gotta say. Frostmark is fucking awesome.
Yes, I agree. Like originally, my favorite MonsterVerse kaiju, original MonsterVerse kaiju. We ain't counting Rodan, Ghidorah, or any of that because obviously the King of the Monsters kaiju will fucking win in terms of best. But originally, it was the Skullcrawlers. But now I'm starting to really change my preference to the Frostmark because overall, one, again, these are phenomenal TV show visuals. Look at the detail on the spikes popping out, the drool, the slime, all of that. You can even see the snow on him, and he looks fucking vicious. It kind of reminds me of that crocodilian-like monster in Pacific Rim that I still want to fucking figure up. And again, what he's capable of, like, going in and taking the heat from them, which that was cool and unique for a kaiju. But I also have to say, something about it was also funny where they're setting up a fire. He starts charging at them and then takes the fire away from them. It's kind of like how for some reason, it reminded me of the episode of SpongeBob when SpongeBob is trying to get all warm and then Patrick's like, spiders!
I get what Shaw's plan was. They're going to set one fire to lure the Frostmark there. Then once he's there, they're going to set another fire to burn the living shit out of him. But considering the fact that this monster is so easily able to absorb the heat from the environment around it, I honestly didn't see that strategy working too well. It does make sense to an extent, but at the same time, I knew straight up this isn't going to work. And lo and behold, it did not. And Kintaro was forced to call in help from Monarch, which they did not want to find them, but it was sort of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation in that case.
Exactly. Uni Warrior said, I remember that, and Tokupunk Productions said, SpongeBob is everything. It really is. The classic seasons were really fucking something.
Are you ready, kids?
He said Tokupunk Productions said everything is a ripoff of SpongeBob. Yes, including Monarch Legacy of Monsters and Minus One.
Confirmed.
All SpongeBob wannabes.
All SpongeBob wannabes.
But yeah. Anyway, episode 5. Okay, let me get my notes for episode 5 and watch me trip over them like a motherfucker, like I've been doing.
Hey, we've both been tripping it a little bit.
Yes.
I was gonna do a podcast, but then I got high.
Yeah. Okay, let me go through my notes. Okay, I gotta say, there's a plot point that's revealed in this one that I absolutely adored. So Kurt Russell's age, like, you can already tell, like, in real life, he's not 90 years old. He's like 70. He still looks good for 70, but still, he's not 90 years old in real life like he is in the show. But I do like how his age is even brought up multiple times here. So I'm starting to think that perhaps there's a reason he looks so young, because they're putting such a spotlight on it, because even the characters are like, wait, he doesn't look 90 years old. So I'm wondering if he got involved with something in Monarch, like a monster that affected his aging of some sort. But I gotta say, that was a clever plot point. I hope they utilize it deeper. Overall, it's another example of this show's world building that I absolutely dig. It's introducing stuff and leaving things ambiguous for us to find out later.
Well, yeah. If you recall, in a few podcasts, I brought up his age and how he would have to be between 103 and 90 for the continuity to make sense. It turns out, lo and behold, he is 90 according to the show, and they're just gonna run with that. It's like, okay, he's 90 then. 90-year-olds don't do what Lee Shaw's doing in this show, but what the hell? Now, there is another theory that's been brought up. If you recall that glowing hole in glowing hole.
Like your mom's?
No, your mom's, asshole. Anyways, it's another portal, but at least it's not a portal in the sky, because I remember people were complaining about that plot point being becoming a cliche for a while. This time it's in the ground, which we all know in the MonsterVerse that can only mean one thing: the hollowed earth, baby.
Exactly.
I don't know if they should be exploring the hollowed earth in this show, only because in the established continuity of the movies, and that's another problem I have with the show, that it clashes a lot with the continuity of the movies, but then again, the movies contradict each other, so whatever. But in the movies, the Hollow Earth is brought up in Kong Skull Island. It isn't brought up again, not even in 2014 when Godzilla is attacking the Mutos in San Francisco. It isn't until 2019 when the Hollow Earth is brought up again. And it's like, it's a debate of whether it's actually a thing or not between Rick Stanton and Dr. Chen. Why would they be debating about its existence when in Monarch it's shown there's portals apparently all over the world? It's just weird.
That is true, but personally, the thing when it comes to retcons, like, they are a complicated topic. Like, I can see why some people will see retcons on the same level as a plot hole, because, again, a retcon is still a differing element in the same universe. But on the other hand, it's still a different art piece, so I still think when it comes to watching the show, you could you can clean your mindset of what those shows were to what happened in those movies to a different degree, if that makes sense. To a
Yeah,
degree,
it does.
but it's
Ultimately, the continuities errors between show and movies doesn't bother me a whole lot personally, but I know they bother other people, so I felt like those people deserve to have their view recognized.
Oh, they do. It's an opinion I understand. I don't wholeheartedly agree with it, but I understand it. The reason why I'm so cool with it here is because the thing is, a lot of those plot points are well written here. They retcon it in a way where it makes sense in the TV show we are watching. And frankly, world building and characters has never been better in the MonsterVerse.
Yeah, that's true. So basically, it's like this: as a piece of an established property, established series, doesn't do so good. But if you take it at its own face value, divorced from that, it's still been executed very well. At least I would say so.
Yeah, it is. It is. But yeah, another thing I gotta say that I'm really liking is the thing about this is every episode focuses on Kentaro and Kate's dynamic, and it puts that into focus on how the two connect in terms of breaking the news to each other's moms. And when it comes to Kentaro, it's very clear he doesn't like hearing how she handled the news, since he can empathize with how she's feeling. And it hurts him even more because at this point, he sees them as family too, including Kate's mother, because the thing is, Kate is now his sister, and he wants to get to know her better. And that is it. The moment when he starts, there's a part in this episode that I really loved. There's a part that some might interpret as forced MonsterVerse comedy, but it isn't. The whole point here is Kentaro is trying hard to make Kate feel better on a down situation, which I can't help but say how warm my heart was by it, because it shows how long these two siblings, who for a bit hated each other, has come. And when he just starts out of nowhere singing some stupid song, it's cringy, but it's sweet. And Kate knew that, which is why Kate started smiling with it. Both actors just played off each other so well with their growing dynamic that I loved. It was so well executed.
If I may, the characters in universe know how cringy it is, and even say as much. They're like, "Oh, Dad and his stupid singing to commercials," and yet, despite the fact that they both have issues with their dad and each other, they're still able to bond over it at a point when they need what's the word? Levity. Yes, because
exactly.
they're in a very dangerous situation when it comes up.
Exactly, and that's basically what I was saying. Was it's supposed to be cringy? It's not forced monster. Because here's the thing: the cringe humor in Godzilla King of the Monsters, when they go, "Oh God," and the guy says Zilla, or when she says Ghidorah, he says, "Did she just say gonorrhea?" They don't acknowledge that shit's cringe in the movie, which is why it's a problem with King of the Monsters. Here, the whole point was Kentaro was trying too hard to make Kate feel better, and that's what made it sweet, because he was so desperate to do so.
Yeah, I gotta say though, I personally didn't mind the "Oh my God, Zilla" thing, only because it's a joke I've been using in real life, and a lot of Godzilla friends I know have been using it IRL. So I'm just like, oh, that's a cute little nod to the fans who were probably, even though some people might not care for that kind of stuff, but whatever. But the gonorrhea joke is absolutely the lowest, scraping the barrel of any sort of humor. It absolutely did not fit in the scene where it was. It should have never even been a thing. And it's even worse that Sam Coleman, my least favorite character from that movie, is the one who said it. It's just like, fuck off and die, Sam. You shouldn't be here. And fuck off whoever wrote that.
Exactly. Like, all the humor in this show that's supposed to be funny is funny and fits in well, like what I established with Kurt Russell on the last episode. But that there was supposed to be cringy, and that's why it worked. Now, there is something in this episode that's gonna piss off a lot of bigots because, let's face it, they fucking are. And I'm not an SJW. Like, here's the thing. The SJWs hate me. Like, I've had them try to cancel me so many fucking times. So here's the thing. I don't like the right either. And they are flipping out over this. Because let's face it, these people are fucking bigots. Because when we get into Kate's past, and apparently she had a girlfriend with, prepare yourself, fucking pride flags in the background. Like, nothing bad happens. No preaching. Just a fucking kiss. Which I actually appreciate because it's more characterization towards Kate. And, like, I've seen some people say, oh, it's forced. It's like, how is it forced? Like, here's the thing. It was to show that Kate was no different than her father. She got mad at her father because her father was cheating on her mother, yet she had 2 girlfriends. Like, would it be forced if she had 2 men? Like, I hate to sound like the SJW here but the thing is, what can I really say? Like, it helped her character arc. How was it forced?
Well, look, here's the point. Here's the bottom line. These kind of people who have a relationship with same sex or multiple or both sexes or whatever, they do exist. And asking for media not to acknowledge the fact that they exist is absolutely ridiculous, utterly stupid. And like you said, they use it effectively to draw parallels between Kate and her dad.
Exactly. Like, it's treated very casually. It's not treated like, oh, gay people are special or anything like that. No, it's treated just like if she was dating men. So it's like, what's the issue other than you don't like gay people? Like, you don't like when people call you bigots, but it's like, how am I supposed to interpret your criticism here?
I love Tokupunk's comment here. Asian ass so good, no men deserve it.
Yes.
Tokupunk, you a real one, yo.
Yes. But hey,
go ahead.
Okay, give me a second. Give me a second. Go on, Cody.
I was gonna say there was actually something I wanted to talk about with Kentaro. Going back to Kentaro because I feel it was glossed over just a tiny little bit. I know Jeiku, you're waiting, so I'm sorry about that. But I just want to say I like the differences in the approaches to how Kate's mom found out her husband had a child with another mother versus how Emiko's mom did. Emiko's mom first started out with confusion, a little frustration, then tried to be nice, then went to Kate, and then went back to frustrated. Here it's the kind of the other way around, where like she was frustrated, but then tried to be nice about it, and then she went back to being frustrated. It's a nice little parallel, and it all felt very natural to me because like these kind of situations do happen in real life. Maybe not to this extent, I don't know, but it like hello.
It's like I said, like Tokupunk said, Asian ass so good, no men deserves it. Seriously, Kate's actress, Anna Sawai has a great ass. I'm not gonna stop bringing this up every time we talk about Monarch.
I mean, some things deserve to be acknowledged, and
just like her ass.
That definitely needs to be acknowledged. Yep. But
all we peasant men can do is stare if we're judging by Monarch's continuity.
Oh, she makes me rock hard all night.
Oh, same here.
But yeah. Basically, I love how they've been handling the dynamic specifically about Kate and Kentaro's very complicated family dynamics.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Like I said, like now I don't expect the MonsterVerse to have like the thing is when it comes to after 2014, the MonsterVerse has been going for a Fukuda style tone, which is completely okay. So I don't expect this complexity out of New Empire, but like I think the overall the MonsterVerse can do better with their characters. And this show gave me hope because it basically does what 2014 tried to do a lot better because the cast is actually developed while Ford Brody is just a bland-ass soldier.
Well, I actually found this out recently. Originally, there was going to be a bigger complexity to his character. Like, have you read the novelization?
I own it, but I haven't got around to reading it yet.
Oh, well, I have. It's based on an earlier script. Originally, Ford was going to be a bit estranged from his family because of his years away in military service. And a part of what he was going to try to do when he got back is try to reconnect with his family more. But he keeps getting pulled away from it, paralleling what happened with his father, Joe, in the past. But the reason that was taken out and he sort of was a bit of more on the bland side, in addition to Aaron Taylor Johnson's half-ass acting, was that movie was made with the support of the military. Like, they gave them access to vehicles, uniforms actually used by the military. And when they saw that a military man is being portrayed in a not so positive light, they're like, hey man, if you want us to still help you with this, you gotta change that. So like, he came back all squeaky clean. Nothing wrong with a guy just getting back from service overseas.
So what they did is they decided to make him a bland-ass lead character, and like you said, Aaron Taylor Johnson's bland-ass acting didn't really help.
Exactly.
But yeah, as a whole, I think this show has been doing a really good job with developing these three, even though the one in the middle is a total cunt now.
Even worse so at the end of this, because like I said, in the last episode, ended with them getting caught by Monarch, but in this one, they seemingly let them go because of after the deputy director got her ear talked off by Tim. I actually really like Tim in this show. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think like he's just having to make some hard decisions that would be hard for anybody. At one point, he even suggests recruiting them because apparently Monarch likes recruiting anybody. Honestly, kind of surprised they didn't end up recruiting Madison at the end of King of the Monsters or Godzilla Minus Kong. But they don't go for that. Instead, they basically let these three back out into the wild so they can go about their own way, hoping they'll keep chasing Hiroshi so that they can piggyback off that chase of their own. But one of those characters, Tim's French bodyguard, she actually goes to May directly and says, hey, you should sell out your friends and we'll take good care of you. And the episode ends with May taking her up on that. And I'm just like, this is the point where I've grown to not only dislike May, I'm slowly starting to hate her because she's already been a pain in the ass so far, but now it seems like she's selling out Kentaro and Kate, and to a lesser extent Shaw, even though Shaw's still in Monarch's clutches. And it's just like, what a whirlwind. I started this show liking her, understanding her situation, but as it's gone on, it has not done her any favors.
Now, I will say this, while we dislike May, we dislike her for the right reasons, unlike some people, and before anyone calls woke here, here's the thing. I've seen reviews of this show that said, oh, this show is woke because there's a black woman in Japan that's smarter. Like, she's the only smart person they know, even though they're in Japan. And it's like, you know, Japan is just a country, right? There's smart and dumb people everywhere. So it's like, what the fuck? You're just racist.
You know what? I was going to save this for the -1 section of the podcast, but I have to say this. This goes out to people who thought that because Yamazaki was patriotic, his movie would be anti-American and pro-imperialist. And this also goes out to people who are calling woke because there's a smart black girl here and two girls kissed and there was some stupid pride flags in the background. To all those collective people, fuck yourselves. You
Agreed.
need to go into a cave and die.
Agreed. As D-Man said, they serve no purpose for society. Like, the culture war thing is just real. It's ruining media literacy. That's really all I could say. Because, yeah, there's people who think -1 is pro-imperialist, where it's like, you know that is criticizing the Japanese war, the side of the war too, right? And people, but it's all because Yamazaki is patriotic and loves his country. Same goes for Hideki Anno with Shin Godzilla. Like, even though Shin Godzilla is going on about how bad the government handled a situation with tsunamis and stuff, he also wanted to show his patriotic side, his love for his country. So a lot of people are like, oh, Shin Godzilla is imperialist. And it's like, are you fucking retarded? Neither one's imperialist.
Yeah, basically, there's stupid people in the world, and I really wish there wasn't.
Agreed.
One more thing I gotta say about this before we go off onto Godzilla Minus One. I also like the way they're handling Lee Shaw. He's like, in a lot of ways, he's similar to Mark Russell from King of the Monsters. He's the complete antithesis of what Dr. Serizawa is. He's very critical about the existence of the Titans, and also he seems to have reason because he's seen what they're capable of. Hell, they even took an ex-girlfriend of his out of his life, that being Kate and Kentaro's grandma, and also they also did some good stuff with him visually, like showing him the footage of him and Kuriko and young Bill Randa together, that psychological warfare sort of, and then that awesome yes, this shot right here, and then they switch over to a shot of a young Shaw, and then old Shaw steps into it and then turns around, and they're almost very well synced up. That's great cinematography. There's great cinematography all throughout this show. Visually, it looks pretty damn good for the most part.
Exactly. But yeah, last thing I really have to say about these two episodes, they were really good. Some people didn't like this one because, well, bigotry. Just like the few people were bitching about Minus One. Like, here's the thing. The new Godzilla stuff coming out right now shows the two sides of the culture war and how retarded they are. Left-wing dipshits are either clinging on to Marvel's balls, going on, oh, Japan bad, or oh, it's not making, stuff like the Marvels is better, which, like, no, the Marvels is horseshit, and so are you. And then you have the right that are like, oh, this is woke because a smart black woman, or pride flags in the background on an episode, or a lesbian kiss. It's like, who gives a fuck? Get out of here. You don't know how to dissect art whatsoever. But it's
Get
like,
out of my house.
Yeah, but it's like, overall, both have been absolutely phenomenal. I'm looking forward to see where Monarch Legacy of Monsters goes.
Right on. I will say I like these two episodes. You said that you wanted more flashbacks to the 50s. I personally like that there weren't any flashbacks to the 50s, only because I think Monarch is at its best when it's telling its own original stories.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can see that, but it's like, I did really like the story it was building upon there.
Fair enough.
But anyway, let's move on to Godzilla Minus One. Get your ass in here, Jeiku. But first, let's let Cody do the plot summary. Gonna try to make this like look like it's edited to the best I can by having a plot summary over the footage. Okay.
Am I heard right now? What's going on?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, just making sure.
Hello, Sosa. Also, love the Minus One pick.
Yes, sir. I'm I have my daughter with me, so I'm going to be off and on the face cam sometimes.
Gotcha. Did you see the movie with your daughter?
Yes. Even though she fell asleep through part of it, she got really scared.
Well, yeah, it's a horror movie. It's literally nominated for Best Horror Movie Award
in Japan.
Yeah, well, yeah, in Japan, yeah. It's nominated for multiple awards, and it's even a contender for the fucking Oscars here. I'm not joking.
I believe it. But me personally, I guess I've been spoiled with Hollywood Godzilla movies as of late, because I'm used to the ones where Godzilla doesn't make that many scary appearances, and he's just like kind of a hero, a part anti-hero, part hero to the humans. No, they went old school on this one.
Well, yeah, that's because this is kind of a loose remake of the 54 film, while Shin was a reimagining. But it's like, we'll get more into that soon. But Cody.
Oh, so that's their excuse for having Godzilla walk so slow. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a loose remake of the 1954 film.
All right. Well, I'm glad y'all had me on, even though I'm a filthy normie.
It's okay. It's okay. It just means that your opinion matters less than ours.
Okay, apparently, it's nominated for Best Horror Movie in a Los Angeles award thing.
Did you literally just go look that up so you can prove me wrong about it only being nominated in Japan?
No, my brother heard me and he pointed that out to me.
Oh. I like my story better. It's funnier.
Okay, but Cody, give the plot summary.
I actually think you should. I'm kind of scatterbrained, I'm not going to lie.
So am I. Okay, who wants to give the plot summary?
I hear audio in the background.
Not sure whose audio, but who wants to give the plot summary?
Okay, I'll go for it. It's 1945 post-war Japan. We follow a certain specific group of people who are trying to build their lives from the ground up after the terrible tragedies their country have suffered. But it gets even worse for them because the physical manifestation of nuclear experimentation, nuclear warfare, arrives on their shores in the form of Godzilla. Now trapped in its shadow, they must find a way to come together and overcome this new tragedy that's befalling their country. It might also befall the whole world.
Exactly. Okay. I gotta say, let me go to some of the pictures on Discord because I got some images to go up. Because, like I said, I'm trying to make this look almost like it's edited.
Yeah.
He's gonna show us all his Godzilla porn.
Oh, fuck off! Your mom's not that big, dude.
No, but yours
Godzilla dude be looking thick though, bottom heavy.
Yeah. Okay, I have to say, the drama of this movie is absolutely fucking wonderful. Let me go into my notes, because I do have a lot to say on that. But which one of you could go first while I'm delving in my notes?
Just the hype is real. Every bit of everything that everyone has been saying about it, how great it is absolutely true.
It is.
Pretty much.
But I do gotta say...
No, like, people need to go and support this movie with their wallets. We need more like this.
Exactly, and it's like, it's doing better than Hollywood. The two #1 movies in Japan and America right now are two Japanese movies.
Right, like, what's the box office right now for it? Do we have any numbers yet?
So far, altogether, it's $46 million on a budget of under $15 million budget. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, people thought this was $15 million. People thought the movie was a $15 million budget, but director Takashi Yamazaki straight up said he wishes he had that much, so it's even lower than that.
It's amazing what you can do with actual talent.
Exactly. But I will.
Hello! Just got the updated numbers in. The collective box office is now $51 million.
That's fucking.
So he beat Captain Marvel's opening weekend.
Yeah.
Domestically.
But yeah, I gotta say, the cast of characters in this movie are all very good. Like, it delves into the whole thing about Shikushima and how he's portrayed. It really goes into the whole thing of PTSD and does it very well. Like, at first, he's just a normal soldier dude that didn't want to die, but he kind of felt like he had to due to being a kamikaze pilot. But then, once he sees Godzilla start, killing all these people in front of him, he ends up running off and leaves Godzilla attacking an entire city. Of course, there's no guarantee he could have killed Godzilla before he got to the city, but he still looks down on himself because his whole goal of being a kamikaze pilot is, to fucking die. So after that, everyone starts looking down on him, getting his self-esteem down, and that's why moments like him saying after his neighbor is basically downgrading him for being alive, it hit so hard the way he delivered to come back alive, they said, because you knew he was hurt because he didn't see his own life as valuable, and he starts having nightmares about it. But then when he gets on the ship with these other people who were in the war just like him, he kind of feels like he kind of feels like he found some belonging here. You could tell his self-esteem ups because these people understand him, along with him gaining a family with Noriko. But the thing that makes it so good, it doesn't cure his PTSD right away. Like when Godzilla shows up again, he starts panicking once again because it was the monster that caused that trauma to begin with. And then around the end, he finds a way to make up for the quote-unquote mistake he did at the beginning. Well, not going down with it like he was originally expected. We see him go through so many stages towards Godzilla, from fear to hate, grief, so many things. He is a very well done character that's well acted, well written, and I just cannot stretch that enough. This approach on how it goes back in time before the present allows it to delve into what it would likely be like if we would have got to see Serizawa or Ogata in the war in the original Gojira, because he kind of serves both of their roles to a degree while still being different. Because by doing this, we get to see why he's so broken down from the war and how it takes such a toll on his mental health. The entire scene, it was just overall very beautiful. And it really makes you understand why he blames Godzilla's attack on himself until Noriko basically comes and literally pushes him into seeing his own value, into understanding he's gotta live. And that's why at the end, he chooses not to die, because even though at the time he thought Noriko is dead, he was living for her. He realized she pushed him for a reason.
I gotta say something. Earlier you said something about curing PTSD, and Joey, I say this respectfully, there's no such thing as curing PTSD. That's not something that just goes away. It stays with you.
Oh yeah, but what I mean by that is he doesn't completely get over his past just by meeting these new people. It's still there. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't fully figure out how to deal with it yet at this point in time.
Right on. Yeah, the character work here is really good, and it's something that I've been feeling has been missing, not just from American Godzilla movies, but Godzilla movies in general. As people know, I've been critical of the Japanese Godzilla movies that have come out recently, and I figured out why. None of them really have what I call good characters or standout characters. I did not give a fuck about any of the characters in Shin Godzilla except Kyoko and Patterson, but that's because her actress is hot. And I did not care about any of the characters in the Polygon trilogy, and I especially didn't care about any of the characters in Singular Point. Like, the overall plot of Shin Godzilla and Singular Point is what carries those movies for me. However, the Polygon's plot is not something I can get into. Whereas here, with this movie, we have multiple actual characters that feel far more tangible, people that you could probably relate to more and understand more, not besides just the main character, who's obviously the most relatable and most complex because, well, main character and all of that. So the fact that we were able to get such good character writing, I think that's one of the things that really carries this movie.
Well, I do want to say I kind of disagree with you on the characters of the Japanese stuff, especially Shin Godzilla, because, originally, I don't know who knows this, but originally, Yamazaki was having this big plan to make his own vision on the 54 Godzilla movie, but the thing is, he was waiting so long because every time Toho would ask him to do his vision on Godzilla, he would turn it down because the visuals of Japan yet weren't up to Yamazaki's standard. However, in 2016, Hideki Anno with Shin Godzilla basically did the vision Yamazaki was thinking of, which, while it's shown that he can't do the exact vision he was going to make, which is a modern-day reimagining of Godzilla that tackled bureaucracy or whatever the fuck the word's called.
Bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy, whatever. I'm not into politics, but
not into speaking English either, apparently.
Oh, fuck off. But to get tackled all that alongside the tsunamis and how the government handled it poorly. But though Yamazaki loves Shin Godzilla, it's shown him that while he can't do that vision since it was already done, basically, he also had to cut it off. So he was also able to make whatever Godzilla movie he wanted at this point, considering Shin did a lot of crazy shit. And so instead of doing a modern reimagining of Gojira, Yamazaki decided, you know what, I'm still going to use the bones of the 54 film, but instead of being a modern reimagining, I'll loosely remake it while rewinding it a couple years to the 1940s instead of 1954 for greater impact. Shin Godzilla's case, why its characters work, is because it followed how the government poorly handled the situation of the tsunamis, with Rando and Kyoko both having problems with the government officials around them. They both wanted the government to do better and were risking it all. Kyoko was like...
I had to listen to this podcast thing, and I probably have to talk on it a little bit. If we could just get the most secluded plot possible, I appreciate it.
Oh, I cut down?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
What's that?
Did anybody hear me?
I got you.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been listening.
Okay, as I was saying, when it came to the cast of Shin Godzilla, basically Rando and Kyoko were each other's counterpart on wanting their government to do better.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Huh? On wanting their government to do better on
Wonka pancakes.
on wanting their government to do better on the tsunamis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Some sort of sugary dust.
But it's like, that's why the characters in Shin Godzilla work, because the Rando and Kyoko were pretty much each other's counterpart on wanting their governments to do better. But here, we're tackling a much more personal story, which Yamazaki did intentional because, again, he wanted to differ from Anno's vision and go for a more personal story. And I gotta say, Minami Hamabe...
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't think, even if he was technically going to do a modern day thing like what Shin Godzilla did, I don't think he would do it the same way that Anno did, because Yamazaki is clearly a different kind of filmmaker.
I'm fine, right? Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I know Yamazaki said in an interview when he was brought up when Shin Godzilla was brought up, Takashi Yamazaki said he decided to go for a more personal story because the politician thing was already done. It was kind of a, what would Anno and Higuchi not do?
Was it a politician thing, or was it a tsunami and nuclear plant thing?
I think it was a little bit of both, because that's why Yamazaki said, I could send the quote later, that he didn't want to copy Shin Godzilla too much because Shin Godzilla was already basically his original vision. So he said, to quote him, "So instead of being like Shin Godzilla, I intentionally decided to follow to follow private people instead of politicians." His words.
Interesting. I still think he would have done it better than Anno, though.
I love both personally. Like, both will appeal to different folks. Me personally, I love both visions equally, as Yoko Higuchi said. Like, Shin Godzilla goes for more of a Stanley Kubrick approach of using characters as tools to get the messages across and such, while this is more like Spielberg by getting dramatic and personal. But yeah, as I was about to say, Minami Hanabe, which, for all you who know, she was also the leading lady in this year's Shin Kamen Rider, which was also another great movie of the year, and she does as good as ever. You can tell she genuinely cares about Shikushima, but at the same time doesn't want to tell exactly how she's feeling, which is why when she's mistaken for a housewife, she gets reasonably shy about it, and it shows because they've already had time to bond, and they want it to work out, but due to the current situation of Japan, they're having trouble making it do so. And that's why around the end, when Shikushima finds her, it turns out that she's alive, and he done all this shit, but he didn't take his life instead. Like, you realize that both of them want to make this relationship work because they went through hell.
I guess so. Hey, Joey, maybe we should let Jeiku and Andreas talk for a bit, see as how well.
Yeah, they've been
you
quiet.
invited them on.
Yeah.
Both of you, speak.
It's all good. I think that the current style, the -1 style, of the two that y'all were discussing, is the best one. That more Spielberg approach you were talking about, that's the better one.
My man.
But in terms of the cast of characters, feel free to give your analysis.
Okay, well, y'all mentioned something before, and I'm kind of holding on to this one. I understand why. I understand guilt and different times can make you do weird things. But how in the hell do you go like 3-4 years? That baby is at least 3 or 4 years old, and not wife up that girl. Like, that's just stupid. I don't care how much guilt you have. That should bring you out of it. A girl literally walked into your home for you. Like, what is wrong with you?
She didn't really walk into his home for him, though. She walked in more so for the baby and sort of forced herself and the baby upon him and used the fact that, well, he's got, I don't want to say a soft heart, I guess a good heart, sort of took advantage of it. But at the same time, he's just like, he didn't have to be taken advantage of. He could have easily said, "Get out of my house." I think it comes down to the fact that he's damaged goods up here, and he doesn't know how to go about his life afterwards. I mean, hell,
I know.
One of the first things he does afterwards is go into a line of work where he could easily die. That being a mine recovery operation.
Exactly. Like, he doesn't value himself, and he doesn't really see himself as good enough because the kamikaze pilot's duty, for those who don't know, is to kill themselves. And since he didn't die, and he even tells her that my war isn't over, because what was his end game? To die. But the thing is, since he had human instinct in him that was constantly preventing him from taking his life, he got every time he would get terrified and not doing
Sorry if we're a little bit of an extra pain, being back here.
You're fine. You're fine.
What do you want to say? I'll take some hot chocolate.
Does Godzilla like hot chocolate?
I told you I was going to be with my daughter, bro. I'm going to mute it for just a second.
Something I want to touch upon with what you were talking about how Koichi Shikishima was supposed to be a kamikaze pilot. He was supposed to die, but he preferred to live, which is why he skirted past his responsibilities. This is sort of another way of Yamazaki doing a big fuck you to the imperialist Japan ideals going into World War II. Because Koichi felt that their cause that they put themselves in the war for wasn't worth him taking his life over. Exactly how is this movie pro-imperialist again?
I don't know, just a bunch of dipshit leftists that are going, oh, it's pro-imperial. It's all because they don't like any form of patriotic beliefs. So even if someone's patriotic and disavowing imperial Japan, they're still going to associate it with imperialism.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty...
My bad, I'm back. I'm sorry.
What, Jeiku?
That's a really weird thing to take away from Godzilla Minus One. I don't know. To me, it seemed like a pretty scathing commentary against Imperial Japan and what it stood for.
Exactly.
And strangely enough, too, this isn't actually the only movie playing in Japanese theaters right now that's doing this exact thing.
Oh,
there's actually
it's a good thing too.
There's another movie I just saw. It just came out in theaters a few days ago. Apparently it's a chick flick. I didn't know that. So, I ended up being in a theater packed with 400 crying Japanese girls at the end of it. I was one of 5 dudes in the whole thing. It was really weird. But it's about kamikaze pilots and everything. And it's pretty clear, I think, that at least modern Japanese filmmakers are kind of going after this sort of, they're really criticizing this this idea of killing yourself for the sake of your imperial government. Even though you're going to lose anyway, it's not going to make any difference. But I guess a lot of people, when they're just faced with people in a movie arguing in favor of doing the patriotic thing and just going and dying because your government told you to do so, because those voices in the movie exist, then it's somehow like it's a promotion of those ideals. When I mean, if people are really that shallow when the way they think about it, then I guess. But I mean, I don't understand. People are really saying that this is pro-imperialism?
Yep, like I went into a MonsterVerse group, which I like the MonsterVerse, but I gotta say there is a lot of dumbasses in that community.
I was just about to say those are some dumbasses right there.
Yeah, someone in the MonsterVerse group said, "What if I told you it wasn't that great?" And there was some hints of imperialist ideology. There were some hints of ideologies that should have went down with Imperial Japan, which is like, where the fuck are they?
Well, they're supposed to be there. This takes place literally during the collapse of that. Of course, those jingoistic ideas, they have to be in there. It wouldn't be authentic if it wasn't.
Yep, exactly. It's overall a very accurate portrayal of the time. That's why when I was watching Angry Joe's review of the movie, Alex even pointed out that it's more historically accurate than Napoleon.
Oh man, I haven't actually... I saw Napoleon. I didn't even... Napoleon is a curse.
Yeah, I heard so many bad things about it. I didn't even go watch it.
I mean, Napoleon
Gosh, you freaking
as a
idiots.
subject is a curse.
Yeah.
Bro, like, but people need to get out of their own echo chambers for real. Like, this is the last thing from an imperialist pro movie. Like, no, like, this is specifically anti-government. This specifically, like, it's amazing too that we think so well of Japan now. They were our enemies less than 100 years ago. It's weird.
Well, yeah, but that's because now, after that whole thing, everyone is basically allies. And overall, I just think the cast of characters of the movie are all very well handled. But unless
I think
there's...
so too.
But I also want to say, I want Jeiku. Like, Jeiku, say anything you got on the characters, because I don't want to say... I don't want to talk over you too much. Like, give an analogy on the characters.
Oh, yeah, no. I remember, going into the movie, I had no expectations whatsoever. I had no idea what to expect. But I was really kind of... there's just a certain style that Japanese filmmakers and actors have when it comes to like portraying characters that you don't really see a lot in like Hollywood movies. I saw somewhere, I can't remember, it was like in a YouTube video somewhere, someone mentioned how like Japanese actors, they always, they do this overacting thing that they always do over,
No, I love it. That's great.
That it's... the problem is that that's not really overacting.
It's not.
Right.
It's
generally speaking, Japanese people are pretty expressive. Of course, if you don't live here, you probably don't see it, because a lot of people have this understanding Japanese people are really like suppressed and meek and everything like that. But
isn't that part of the language that you can convey a totally different word and idea based on your more uppity tone?
Well, the thing is that the Japanese people generally can respond like in a very like strong way. If like, for example, you see a movie where a guy is like going through a tough time or something like that, and he's on his bike, and like he's just like, he starts pedaling faster and he just like screams out to himself to like no one while like riding in some direction somewhere. it's kind of a cliche in a lot of Japanese movies, especially in modern ones. A lot of people used to Western movies would probably call that overacting, but it's not really. It's kind of like that. That's just, I guess, more normal. If you want to convey like someone experiencing inner turmoil in a Japanese movie, that's just like how it is. That's just how like it's expressed and communicated.
Exactly.
There's
Even as
nothing
somebody
overacting or abnormal about that.
Exactly, like this scene right here, like it makes perfect sense why he looks so like this fucker right here. You could tell he's dumbfounded that Godzilla is so close. While him, he's absolutely terrified. All the emotional cues is here. What's not convincing about it? Well, they're near a monster that could fucking kill them at any goddamn moment.
If
Right.
I may, I think that it's also just a part of the fact that for some reason, people in modern America have this idea that they need to suppress their own emotions, and rather than have genuine emotion, they need to respond to everything with a sort of cynicism, and to see other people not conveying that same sense of cynicism isn't realistic to them or relatable to them for whatever reason.
I want to
Even
see how they
though,
act when Godzilla is about to fucking kill them.
right.
Like, I mean, when you look at, I mean, you guys were talking about Monarch earlier, and one of you, I can't remember which one. I was listening, of course, but one of you mentioned someone made a gonorrhea joke or something in there.
In King of the Monsters.
King of the Monsters, okay. That is a really good example of just like the American style. It's Marvel humor.
Yes.
It's kind of like, oh, we're quirky, we're self-aware, we know we're making a stupid movie, so let's make a stupid movie. Like, you know, when it comes to like these big franchise films, it's like something that apparently American audiences seem to like still. And so
I have no
guess
idea why.
when they're faced with a Japanese, right? I hate it. I hate it.
Spit at the wall and see what sticks tactic. That's the type of humor Marvel and the MonsterVerse uses.
But
it's like, oh, we know we're self-aware, but then when they're faced with like a movie that's being played straight, like Minus One, they don't know what to make of it, and so they just call it over dramatic or like,
Marvel has really become Family Guy style type humor. It really has.
Only Marvel's for kids.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I can't. It was amazing to me. This movie, when I saw it, it had a G rating. I was like, dang, dude.
Well, that's because Japan's rating system is very different.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember. I mean, Iron Girl is PG-12.
Yep.
So I can only like, oh,
Kamen Rider's PG-12, and you have a fucking guy in armor crushing people's skulls like goddamn watermelons. My brother, when he saw that clip, was making Jason Voorhees comparisons because that's as gory as it was, only with a lot more happening due to the fast pace.
Oh, I was talking about Iron Girl.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying that the PG-12 rating was Kamen Rider too, and that had people's heads getting crushed like watermelons in a matter of seconds.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Iron Man for a second. My bad.
No, not Iron Man would never have something like that.
No.
I am Iron Girl. Social politics really make me hurl.
Actually, no. Iron Girl came out in 2011 before all that, and it's a Japanese movie. I have it.
I know what it is.
So Iron Girl isn't the same as Ironheart?
No, Iron Girl is
I know. I just needed a rhyme. For that.
To be fair though, that was really good.
Do you know what
I was
Tetsuo the
impressed.
Iron Man is, Jiku? As Tokupunk brought up, is
Thank you.
Iron Girl like Tetsuo the Iron Man? Which I know what Tetsuo the Iron Man is. I saw that. It's a good. It's a really weird movie, but it's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Ironheart's
Girl-
getting delayed. Everybody, they're probably gonna scrap it or completely redo it. Yay!
Good.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too far into Iron Girl, but basically it's a trilogy of kind of I want to say like micro budget movies, Japanese movies starring a former porn star, and it's really good. All three of them. I really like all three of those movies. They're the second one's the easiest one to find. Just out there in the wild with subtitles, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Rock on.
All right, I have another little. And this is again, I love the movie. This is me just being like a little bit, pedantic. I think is the right word. What the heck? The girl in the main Niriko or whatever her name was, I don't know, but she pushes.
Go.
What? Okay. She pushes the dude out of the way into the building. She could have just kept pushing and not had to like sacrifice herself. That was the dumbest Titanic scene stuff I've ever seen in my life.
Oh wait, not Akiko. You mean what was her character's name again?
He
Wasn't
said
it
Noriko.
Yeah, Noriko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the heck is that? That like I understand having to build up for the dramatic moment reveal later, but oh my god, the logic is worse than Titanic. It drove me nuts.
I guess like she could have just jumped with him, but
Yeah,
but I guess that would be nitpicking, and everything has nitpicks.
I know.
I actually kind of get it to an extent because at that moment it seemed like she was more focused on his life than her own, which actually goes to show what a good person she is. Good for you, Noriko. And might also have had something to do with the fact that, well, she was suffering a bit of shell shock after everything that just happened to her. I mean, she dropped how many feet from a fucking
Thank
train?
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like she wasn't all in her mind there. Like Shikushima literally had to grab her and run.
Thank you.
She was in shell shock. Which was another thing they kind of took from the 54 movie with when Himiko first saw Godzilla and Ogata grabbed her and ran.
But she wasn't shell shocked enough to push him.
Not enough, but she was still shell shocked to a degree.
You know what I personally rationalized it as? Maybe she just didn't want to live anymore.
I mean,
but
I think at that point, right? I almost want to say that getting into like the logic of something like that is getting into like CinemaSins territory where you're just like I don't know.
I admitted I was being petty.
No. I mean, and I don't know what the American discourse is behind this movie, so maybe there are people who are complaining about that.
Oh,
but,
Americans are probably praising this.
No, I'm the only one.
Okay. Okay. Well, no. It's like it kind of goes into like I guess sort of Japanese like the language of cinema that they have here. It's like a suspense sort of dramatic cliche. A lot of people say cliches a negative thing, but it's just like no, it's not. It's just like a thing that is common.
Yeah.
And just because it's common or of this particular style doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. I think the
It's all about execution.
kind of like ruined that, but yeah, it's like just like I don't know. Personally, I didn't have any problem with that. Actually, I was actually really surprised that even happened when I saw it. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess she got blown away.
I was more surprised that she survived.
Well, yeah, but there's different ways to interpret the ending that we'll get into later in this podcast. But it's like even right here, when he's grabbing her, like I feel like she woke up a bit from that, but not entirely. But here she was definitely really fucked with. That's why Shikushima had to grab her and run because, well, she was shocked.
Right on, right on.
Well, there is such thing. A lot of people don't know this, but there is such thing as being so scared that you don't want to live anymore. It's an instinct by your body that you just. That's why people sometimes just run out in front of the monster because they're that scared. Their psyche can't deal with it, so they just kill themselves essentially.
I actually know about that because, don't worry, guys. I'm okay. I'm just gonna. This is from a long time ago. I sort of felt that myself. At one point, I was like, walking through the woods at some point, but then I came up to this really edge of this really big cliff. I thought I'd finally gotten through the brush, but it turns out I was on the edge of a cliff. And when I saw how far it was, I was scared as hell. And something inside me, for whatever reason, said, jump.
I could never be like that. I'm a scared pussy when it comes to heights. Like, I was on my grandma's balcony and I started fucking shaking, dude.
How high is your grandma's balcony, bro?
Nothing too crazy, actually. Like, just enough to kill you if you fell off.
Right on. Well, anyways, yeah, I was so scared that at that point, something inside me said, you would rather be dead than be this scared. But the rational part of me was still there enough to say, wait a minute, no, just walk away from the edge, which is what I did instead. Now, not everyone has that rational part in them so strongly, so I understand where Sosa was coming from when he said what he said.
Yeah.
No, but that was honestly a great twist at the end. I was so caught up because, again, the movie's so good. The acting, emotions, everything, the pacing, everything is so good. I was so caught up in it. I was completely fine if we were just going to end with Godzilla and everybody celebrating. And then when we got that on top of it, I was like, holy crap. It came out of left field. Was never expecting it. And I literally thought to myself, this couldn't get much better. And then it did. I was like, holy crap, this is great story writing.
Exactly. And one of the things that really made that twist work is, again, Shikushima lost so much, and he, like, as a kamikaze, he was expected to die, and it seemed like he was going to die with Godzilla, but instead, he chose to live. And as a result, he comes back and finds out Noriko is alive. And here's where the period piece setting really is really taken advantage of, because nowadays, if someone survived an incident like this, you will find out immediately they are in the hospital or are alive. But here, this was in the 1940s, so the fact that she was knocked so far away, it makes sense he wouldn't know she was alive until he got the letter. And both of their emotions at the end, when he just starts crying and cuddling on her, and the look on her face, you can definitely tell that he feels like, hey, I've been waiting on you for too long, let's be a family, and stuff like that, that made it overall feel very awarding. It made it feel awarding that he chose to live because he didn't lose her. She's still here.
Exactly.
For now.
And the daughter, too.
Exactly. And I also gotta say, I liked Akiko, too, since she begins blaming Shikushima for what he's done due to the belief of what kamikazes are supposed to do, die, and things of that nature. But since she still has some basic human sympathy, she doesn't choose to abandon him when there's a baby. She chooses to help him take care of the baby, which even though you can tell she doesn't want to say, how she feels, like I said, she is happy to be doing what she is doing, and eventually is considered the aunt to their child. Shikushima grows to trust her. She grows to like Shikushima, even though at the beginning she was like, oh, you should have died with them. But after spending enough time with them, being their babysitter, she begins to understand that he has a right to live.
Yeah, that's something that's really interesting. You know, a lot of Japanese soldiers who survived and came back were sort of like ignored after the war, ignored or treated with vitriol, and because they survived. And that mentality in Japan took a while to go away. And so when I saw that depicted there, in this movie. That was one of the things I said in the Discord when I first saw it. That was I thought was kind of ballsy because, there's always this idea that, especially as Americans, we're always told that Japan, was going to fight to the death. Everybody was going to. If there was an invasion of the Japanese mainland, everybody was going to fight to the death and blah blah blah. And in Japan, this sort of state, what is it? This state-driven like Shinto idea, where
You mean the samurai weren't right on everything? I thought they were always right.
it was like, I mean, Bushido is like its whole other, is like a whole other thing. And what they basically did was they programmed an entire generation into thinking that if you don't die in a fighting or something like that you're doing something wrong. But this movie offering that kind of commentary against it, and this other movie that just came out too, literally showing at the same time as Minus One, is just kind of like, having these kind of just saying, living's okay too. There's nothing cowardly about wanting to continue to live and not, killing yourself because your government who's failed you told you to. It's kind of, I thought it was kind of ballsy.
It was. It's shown that forgiveness was like she had overly traditional beliefs that came, as you put it, formed by Bushido, but after getting to know him and becoming family, forgiveness is gradually formed. And one of the things I like about the development in this movie, nothing just happens right then and there. It takes its good old time for everything to completely soak in.
Oh yeah, I just thought that aspect of the movie was just really cool. It's definitely sort of, recently Japanese World War II films have become really like introspective in that regard. And because of that, I think it's like really, I have a thing for Japanese World War II movies.
Chris has been wanting to see more. Like, apparently Yamazaki's done a few of them.
I can imagine he has. Yeah.
Do you think that this is, and maybe I'm reading too much into stereotypes here, but I think it's a true one. Do you think that maybe this is also trying to impact the current society? Because isn't there still a big time suicide problem in Japan?
It could, but I don't know if that's the case. Because like I said, this film used similar to, it's not Peter Jackson's King Kong, where it's a very accurate remake, but uses the original as its basis, like the 1976 King Kong. And like that film, as someone said, there's kind of like a kamikaze theme to that too, with Serizawa, that feels like he has to go down with Godzilla in order to stop another war from happening. Over here, it's done differently with, well, a kamikaze pilot.
What do you think about what Sosa implied in terms of real world implications?
Yeah, but isn't that still currently a problem in Japan?
I heard it dropped, but Jeiku would know better.
Like as far as like stuff like that is concerned in Japan, honestly, I don't know if this movie or there is kind of a disconnect between like the current issue and like specifically the issue with Kamikaze. I'm not sure if those two resonate the same way. I genuinely don't know. I don't know how Japanese are responding to it in that way. Most of the time, when it comes to, I'm trying to keep this so not saying the word for you. I don't want YouTube to kill this video, but usually like
Just
Japanese
misspell
people,
one of the letters.
the S word. That's
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, There you go. Sorry. It's early in the morning for me still. Japanese people usually just kind of like react to it like, oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Which it's not like the reaction is more like, oh, they did that. Okay. And so like when it comes to like people, offing themselves now, but when it comes to kamikaze, because Japanese people are generally speaking so war is such an unpopular thing that when they see stuff about like things like kamikaze, they're like, oh, what a waste, it's so useless. They know they're going to lose, but they think that this one guy in a tiny plane is going to sink a giant ship that will just be replaced next week by like 3 of them. That's actually something, paraphrasing what was said in the newer movie that came out, but I mean it still stands in -1 too. So I don't know if it really adds any commentary on modern Japanese society when it comes to
Yeah, like I said, this is different from Shin Godzilla, because Shin Godzilla's whole point was, what if Gojira was made in modern day? Everything from the messaging, how the characters, Godzilla himself, is all about what if Godzilla came out today. So the messages...
Yeah, but Joey, here's the thing about that, though.
Today.
Even if a movie is a period piece, if it's good enough, if its themes are good enough, they can still resonate well with a modern audience, regardless of what time the movie is set in.
Oh yeah, they do, because this movie, and I mean this, this movie has had a lot of people literally crying in the theaters, both in Japan and the American audiences. Like, I knew the 54 film did that at the time it came out, which makes sense, because the 54 film was very powerful in 1954, but this film, using somewhat similar themes alongside new ones, it just goes to show how powerful those messages still are till this day, given -1 was still able to cause an audience, both American and Japanese, to tear up.
Yeah, it definitely resonates in Japan, especially now with the geopolitical situation out here being as volatile as it is.
Do you think Japan will side with the enemies again if it comes down to it, or do you think they've learned their lesson?
Japan is more concerned if the U.S. will live up to their promise of defending Japan and Taiwan as if it's their own territory. So really, the Japanese are asking the same question. But no, I don't think there's a chance that will happen.
Anyway, do you guys have anything more to say about the cast of characters and themes?
There's actually a lot that I wanted to say, but it's kind of hard for me, being someone who is on the spectrum, and we're sort of jumping all over the place. No disrespect intended. I'm just like, wait a minute.
Well, hey,
oh God!
Stop! Reverse! Yeah, sorry about that.
Someday
I'm sorry. I just thought about that Jeff Dunham. Has anyone seen Jeff Dunham arguing with myself?
I have not.
Oh my God, y'all need to. Never mind. I was going to make a joke, but it was going to be horrible, but never mind.
Okay. Someday I'll be doing a video review of this. This is the podcast reaction right now. I'm working on a commentary video also debunking some dumb shit's take on the movie, because basically he wanted the goddamn MonsterVerse. But it's like...
Oh man, I saw so many negative reviews on IMDb, like, there's not enough Godzilla, there's not enough destruction.
I actually thought there was more Godzilla than the average Godzilla movie.
Well, yeah. I was like, this is just your default complaint for anything like that isn't what
like as compared to what?
Yeah, right. I don't even the effects don't look that good. It's like, oh, because it's from Japan, so you're just going to...
The same people who are complaining about that are the same people who like She-Hulk.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean,
She-Hulk is crap.
It is. And the CGI
I haven't seen
She-Hulk
it.
is awful.
I don't have Disney Plus. I've never had it, so I've never
You're not
had
missing
the-
anything, dude.
I've never done myself the disservice of looking at any of the modern Marvel stuff. But
Yeah, I guarantee you that the people who are saying that are troll accounts used by the animators who work for Disney.
oh man. I mean, I know those people work really hard to do what they do, so I can understand being defensive, but I just it's just too bad.
No, we won't get off on that too much, but like,
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
that show confirmed everything about Hollywood. But like, one thing that I want to know, like, is has Godzilla always had healing abilities in the
Yeah.
comics and
Yes.
stuff?
Yeah, well, Godzilla has always had human healing abilities, and I do want to say this: Godzilla has comic books, but he's not based on a comic. The first Godzilla thing to ever come out is the 1954 original by Ishiro Honda. But yes,
Or did he then?
Huh? Yeah, he's always had healing abilities. This one shows the healing abilities more since they got the technology for it. But Godzilla's always had it. But speaking of Godzilla, I do have to say, in this movie, he is downright horrifying. And aside from the effect and design getting across, that subtle fucking score when he's chasing after the boat, all slow, his limitations on this moment make it all the more suspenseful because it has you rooting for them to simply get the fuck out of there. But you're not sure if they can escape since they're alone in the middle of the ocean with this big-ass monster who, when you look in his eyes, you can tell he's only intending to fucking kill them. And what makes it worse is he's not doing it to eat or anything. He's doing it because he just likes doing it. Like, at the beginning, when he's a dinosaur, he's not eating them. When he's going on Jurassic Park style on them, he's just biting them and throwing them. He's killing them out of pure cold blood. And I do want to say, I like that scene from the beginning of the film because it's like the originals, but tweaked in all the right ways. Why are they on Odo Island? Because Shikushima went there because of the war. Godzilla was a dinosaur in his past when they're on Odo Island. This is before he was mutated. All while showing similar beats, such as the lighting on him, everyone running, and Godzilla causing mass destruction before going straight to Tokyo. And on this moment, it also really shows the quality of the CGI because when he's running towards that tower or whatever the fuck it's called, and you can see his dorsal plates moving up and down. That's one of the things I really liked about that. Is there's a lot of smooth movement that comes with it and a lot of weight to when he steps on the ground. And I love the cinematography that moves around into people's perspectives because it shows how big and dangerous he is. Which, another thing I do really have to say, I really like how Godzilla just suddenly shows up without warning. This buildup of his appearance in the 1954 classic is never less than phenomenal, but the very fact we don't even hear about his existence makes when he starts wrecking shit all the more powerful. And them saying his name like they knew of the legend struck all the right chords. It was kind of a subversion because you would expect suspense before seeing him, but nope. He just suddenly shows up, and that makes it all the more horrifying and unsettling.
Absolutely. But it still gave a very modest, very light implication in the show, in the movie, that he was woken up because of the nuclear bomb that the USA gave. So it was basically the US's fault.
Exactly.
Oh, something about that. I was surprised how they went about explaining how Godzilla goes from how he started in the movie to where he ends up, that being a giant mutated version of what he was before. They actually used a real-life nuclear bomb test, but not Castle Bravo, as is usually the one that's tied to Godzilla. This time they used Operation Crossroads, which, interesting piece of trivia for people out there. Operation Crossroads is where that one bit of infamous bomb stock footage comes from. You know, the one that's high up and off to the side from a far distance, and it explodes, and the shockwave and the smoke spreads out and consumes the dummy ships that are the targets for the target practice. They used it in the American edit of Rodan. They used it at the beginning of the 98 Godzilla. They used it at the beginning of the 2014 Godzilla. You all know
They
the
used it when
piece of stock
SpongeBob
footage.
dropped the pie.
Yes. You all know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And
And
the interesting thing about that is, though, even though they had access to use that stock footage, it kind of looks like they didn't do it here. It kind of seems like they did their own recreation, their in-studio recreation of it, as opposed to relying on the stock footage. What's your guys' opinion about that?
Oh yeah, I think
know-
me and my family even pointed that out in the theaters. What about you, Jeiku?
Thank you.
You know,
Do you want Joey?
I was actually wondering if that was like CG also.
And that's the
I
thing,
think it might have been.
the CG's so good, it's hard to tell at times when it's even CGI because it looks very realistic on this less than $15 budget.
Right. I mean,
Right on.
yeah, I thought it was. I mean, if it was CG, it was like a perfect recreation of it. So
Yeah, and speaking of the
Yeah.
CGI, there's a part in this movie that it really impressed me to the maximum, and that's how when we're watching him swim and all the water around his body sluggishly moving up and down to match his size, then his dorsal plates start popping up with the splash effects. It all is very matching with the lighting, the sound effects, the way it moves. It's overall very impressive craft, and you can tell that a lot went into bringing it to life.
Yeah, the CGI for the most part is really, really good for this kind of budget, especially when they're out on the water. I was actually surprised at how lifelike Godzilla looked in the water scenes, especially. When he actually comes on land in the Ginza district, there are some parts where he's moving that don't look the best, like the way his leg moves forward sometimes doesn't animate the best. But if
That was
that's
the only part that I noticed was a little bit off sometimes, but it was generally very good. But yeah, it wasn't perfect, but no movie is.
Yeah, especially with
No.
this budget.
Yeah, it's still impressive that that's the only thing you can really take away from this in terms of wonky effects.
Criticisms, yeah.
Yeah, it's overall puts Hollywood to shame, especially since there's a lot more moments in Hollywood movies with a fuck ton more money where you can see that sort of thing. Here, like a lot of Hollywood effects don't even have personality in them. While this here, look in his eyes. What can you read from this face right here?
They really got the eyes good. They really showed hate in those eyes.
Yep, which represents the fact perfectly that he's a living nuke. He's here to punish humanity for, well, our crimes, like in the original. And it all brings out the anger he's feeling.
So in the original, because I'm a normie, Godzilla is meant to exact revenge on humans because they're messing around with Earth too much because of nukes. Is that the whole idea?
He's basically the nukes personified. That's basically what he is. He was mutated by the bomb, and of course now he's coming up to fuck up humanity since, well, they mutated him, and war basically created a monster, and now he is the consequences of our actions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
when it comes,
I find it funny that who's the guy who made the show again?
You mean this movie?
Yeah.
Takashi Yamazaki.
Yamazaki. I find it funny that Yamazaki, and I'm saying this playfully because it doesn't actually, but I find it funny how they hate on America when they literally ripped off Independence Day to make this movie. So, whatever.
Wait, they ripped off Independence Day?
This whole
I
movie
would
is
say
Independence Day.
It's more so Spielberg.
Well, more so has more in common with Steven Spielberg's. Like, basically what this film is kind of like a loose remake of the original with heavy inspiration from Jaws, Grave of the Fireflies,
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, some Jurassic Park. It's a little bit of everything.
And I would also point out maybe...
And of course, there's also...
And I would point out maybe a little bit of inspiration from Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, and of course, there's a lot of other Godzilla movies in here. Like, for example, how Godzilla's portrayed, the aggression, all that comes from his Yamazaki's favorite Godzilla movie, GxK, where he's basically just a living killing machine. And even how he summons his atomic breath is the exact same of GxK. Hell, in the most obvious thing, the ending of the movie where it shows his heart beating and regenerating while the Godzilla March plays, that is the exact ending of GMK Godzilla.
Okay. Yeah, this is the most minor critique. Like, I am not like dissing this at all or trying to be overly negative. I'm just saying what I think my opinion might have been a little bit better. I don't think they should show the regeneration happening so quickly at the end, because with the way they present it, Godzilla will be healed in a matter of moments. They should have made it to where his cells are barely starting to regenerate. That way it'll take like 30, 40, 50 years for him to regenerate. And you could have a movie that is like with all the people who are old now, warning the young, but they don't listen. It should have happened a little bit more like that. It also takes away from the dramaticness of and the sacrifice of the movie, in my opinion, just a little bit. Like, if he heals so quickly, then all that was kind of for naught. Like, what now?
Well, let me show you the scene that this was undoubtedly paying homage to. Like, I think YouTube has it. Because, it's very much paying homage to GMK here, and it's very obvious, and I say that in the best of ways, because Yamazaki loved GMK Godzilla. It's his favorite entry of the franchise, and it really shows here. Give me a second. Oh,
it's not just GMK he pays tribute to in this movie, though. You'll actually see a bunch of random pieces from other Godzilla movies, too. Joey pointed out how... What?
Like Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, the Survivors Guild thing.
Yeah, and also how, like you pointed out before, Joey, how Godzilla started off as more of a dinosaur at the beginning and attacking World War II soldiers. That came from Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. And then, we have Godzilla attacking Tokyo, which is a part of any major Japanese Godzilla movie. And then we get shots reminiscent of the Monsterverse, kind of, like how he uses atomic breath to destroy a ship from below underwater, and how he travels underneath a ship in the water, and we get an overhead shot of it. That's sort of like what happened in Godzilla 2014. And also how the final act is structured is a bit like Shin Godzilla too. The big Godzilla disaster happens, everyone reacts to it and isn't feeling so good. Then they come up with a plan to deal with it. Then there's a wee bit of downtime. Then they enact this plan, and then there's there's an emotional resonance afterwards, and then end credits. Only in here, like you said, Godzilla starts to regenerate like GMK.
Exactly, and it's basically shot for shot. I want to show everyone who's seen -1 how close this ending is, but...
Alright, maybe it'll make more sense to me then.
Who are a bunch of assholes, so I don't know if I can find it. That's the thing.
No, seriously, guys, I know this sounds horrible, but I was waiting. It was such an Independence Day ripoff. I don't care what anyone says, it really was. I was expecting him at the end when he was about to fly the plane into Godzilla's mouth for him to go, "Korea! I'm back!" I thought they were going to do that for real.
I didn't see the Independence Day similarity. 98 definitely, but that's because 98 was by the same person who made Independence Day.
Good old Roland Emmerich.
Yep, the one who fucked up Godzilla most.
I honestly thought that joke was going to kill, but I guess I failed. My bad.
No, it's fine.
I don't really see the similarities between Independence Day.
I don't either. But yeah.
Then again, I wasn't really ever into that movie.
Well, it's also more serious than Independence Day. Independence Day is a popcorn flick.
This
is a serious.
I don't care what anyone says. It's awesome.
I mean, Emmerich is sort of known for that. My favorite Emmerich movie is 2012. Nobody else likes it though.
I don't see it. But yeah. Anything? But anything you guys have to say about Godzilla? Anything else?
Oh yeah, I wanted to say something about the CGI really quick. If that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, they do CGI correctly. CGI is supposed to be a supplement to good effects. That's why one of the reasons people are so excited for the new Deadpool movie, because he's using real effects. Hugh Jackman and Ryan, they're all using real effects, real actors, real people, and they're going to have CGI supplement it. Hollywood needs to take a page and counsel from these people. Don't make everything CGI, or else it's going to be crap.
With this movie, a lot of people, I feel like when they hear, oh, it's a Japanese movie and it uses CGI, like no matter what it looks like, people are going to say, oh, it's not good. It's subpar. It's middling. It's not that great, but it's a Japanese movie. I don't know. I recently, and I mean fairly recently, saw the new Indiana Jones movie, Dial of Destiny.
Oh dear.
The digital de-aging that they put on Harrison Ford at the beginning of that movie, I thought I was watching the Polar Express.
Yeah.
Even though it's a real actor portraying this character, I thought, is this like, are they going for, I couldn't tell if the people, like the actual actors in there, were all CG or not. It all looked so fake, even though they were all real actors. And that movie is almost $300 million budget.
I can't imagine. Like, how do people balloon these budgets up that much?
The cost of hiring actors, probably.
I know, but geez, like, you've seen what we can do with this, what Japan can do with this film. Like, I don't understand how you let that happen, but whatever.
Well,
I think
goes a long way.
The worst effect in this whole movie, in my opinion, were like the two shots or three. There are like 2 or 3 shots, like probably like maybe a cumulative of like 15 seconds worth of the movie, where it was just like these tanks that looked like they were ripped straight out of a silent movie. They looked pretty rough. When I saw that, I'm like, oh no, please don't show these guys for too long. The tanks that were like lined up to shoot at Godzilla. But like,
I don't remember them looking bad. I thought they looked like tanks.
I'm with Sosa on this one.
What's that?
I'm with Sosa on that one. I don't remember them looking bad, but then again, I only saw it once.
I mean, it's honestly, it doesn't matter anyway. But that was, in my opinion, the worst effect. I didn't think there was anything wrong about Godzilla, the animation with it, or the water, or anything like that.
Yeah, like when he's roaring right there, the dorsal fins are lightly moving on his back. Really good at detail. And like the CG when it comes to like the warships, I think it was like, I mean, if you're going to complain about that, then you should also then, if we're going to bring up Roland Emmerich again, you might as well say that, Midway was also a bad looking movie because they pretty much were on par with one another. And as far as like what the CGI ships and everything, but I really didn't think the movie looked like all that bad or cheap in terms of like the digital effects or anything like that. It looks amazing. It looks like it could have been something the MonsterVerse produced on a much higher budget. And that's all because Yamazaki is a really good special effects artist.
And I mean, not only that, but like, I don't know if you guys stuck around for the credits or anything, but like you had a ton of companies like in charge of just like rendering these effects. A ton of including Square Enix, by the way, the Final Fantasy game. They're in the credits here for helping render the digital effects here. I was blown away by that. I was like, what? No way.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I do want to ask one thing, Sosa. Like, I am curious because I honestly don't see it. What does Independence Day have in common with Godzilla Minus One?
What? Say that again? I was listening. I just couldn't hear you.
What does Independence Day have in common with Godzilla Minus One?
the sacrifice, kind of scene with the plane at the end, and Godzilla's just destroying everything, and they have to come together to figure out a really weird tactic, and it works, but it really doesn't, and then they have to, the one last pilot has to save the day, kind of thing.
Oh, that's from the 54
all that.
That's from the 54 movie, bro. Just with some tweaks of the kamikaze being there instead of Serizawa having to sacrifice himself with an oxygen destroyer. A lot of how and also in terms of the ship thing, that also with how it's approached is similar to Akane and Godzilla against Mechagodzilla on being a survivor's guilt victim who was who wanted to go down with Godzilla, or who wanted to go down with her ship originally, but like him chose to live. So it's basically the 54 ending with hints of against Mechagodzilla thrown in, and of course the anime trilogy.
So Independence Day ripped off Godzilla.
Kinda. I wouldn't say they ripped it off. If anything, there was just some inspiration.
I know. I was completely joking about that. Like, it's just a funny comparison that came to mind.
Okay, I gotcha. I hope I didn't come off as overly serious, though. I got it off.
I wasn't trying to make it a critique. I was honestly just trying to set up my joke, which bombed horribly. So,
just like the Marvels.
Oh,
no, like my joke landed as hard as Marvel humor does.
It's fine. Don't worry. I've done some forced jokes too myself. It's not a big deal.
Like, it's fine. It's just I genuinely thought I had a great joke, and whenever I do, I normally get a good response. But no.
It happens. It also, I don't think it's the fact that you did. I don't think you did a bad joke. It also might have to do with the fact that I'm a little autistic, so it probably went over my head.
Well, yeah, and that other dude said, that he has the same problem. So, oh well.
Yeah, like we have bits of. I think even Jeiku has Asperger's. Like, am I incorrect on that?
I mean, I've never been diagnosed with anything. They thought I had something when I was a kid, but they evaluated me and said no, he's just weird. But I do like to joke that I possess weapons grade autism. If that counts.
People who say autistic is generally, when people try to say the word retard's offensive, I would go and call them retarded after telling them I'm autistic. They'll block me.
I don't know. Whenever I say that, I get a laugh. So, but I don't know. Maybe I'll offend someone one day.
Well, you're not going to offend me. I joke about retardation all the time.
I mean, people who get offended over the word retard is like he's taking the sensitivity way too far.
Yeah, it is. Also, another thing I'd like to say on terms of the effects.
So whatever.
Another thing I like to say in terms of the effects is the atomic breath effect. Like, some of the people say, oh, Godzilla it's too fast shooting. But here's the thing. Similar to Shin Godzilla, when he fires this big, heavy atomic breath, it's almost like, for example, Pyramid Head in Silent Hill when he's lifting this massive sword. It's so big, it's pulling Godzilla's weight with it, and that's why it's going down and causes this massive destruction, and even leaves a bit of a burn on his face. And it's all very well done because it shows how heavy the atomic breath really is, and that's displayed all from this massive mushroom cloud and fucking with the entire city.
I really did like the special effect with his atomic breath. The way they handled all that, they did the effects. I really liked it, and the way they angled it, and it's such a cheap way, but it still works. But the way they camera angled the upward diagonal shot, to show the damage, that's really good stuff.
It is. Like, all this is done with talent. Like, yeah, budget leaves some limitations there, but here's the thing. With what they had, they made the most of it, where it looks as expensive. It looks more expensive than most Hollywood movies because everyone was so talented. Like, and it's not even $15 million. Many people thought the budget was $15 million, but when that word came to Takashi Yamazaki, his response was, I wish I had $15 million when making it.
Yeah. I mean, inflation is real in Japan. It really is.
Yeah, I guess. Like, it looks more expensive than a lot of Hollywood stuff. And also, I do want to say, in terms of the musical score and how they use the original track, I like when even though Godzilla is portrayed as a scary monster, it takes advantage of the fact that Godzilla nowadays is seen as this icon we all look forward to seeing wreck shit up. It does work because when the Ifukube theme is playing, it is exciting, and it gets the adrenaline pumping. It remembers it's an action movie. But shortly after Godzilla fires that atomic breath, the entire score becomes somber, and everything just becomes empty and horrifying. Because it's showing us that, hey, this is what the monster we look forward to seeing is capable of doing. And it just becomes very sad and scary. Perfect shift of emotions there.
Yeah, I feel like the people who complain about, there not being enough of that miss the point of it.
I want to know what Godzilla movies they were watching, because the thing is, Godzilla movies have usually have a focus on their cast of characters. That's the thing. And they usually have an allegory, too. That's why when I was watching this one video, this one person was saying, oh, the only Godzilla movies with allegory is 54, Shin, and versus Hedorah, and of course, Minus One. And it's like, what Godzilla movies were you watching? Godzilla films have always been full of allegory.
I mean, I can't remember who I was talking to when I said it, but what you take away from a movie or from anything, a book, a song, a piece of paper with a drawing on it, is what you choose to take away from it. So it really doesn't have anything to say about like the person who created it or even the work itself, but rather the person or consuming it, right? So if whoever is saying that is saying, oh yeah, none of the other Godzilla films have any allegory or have any meaning or anything to them at all, well, I mean, that's because that's the way you decided to see it. That's just how you decided to look at it. That's what
for example, Invasion of the Astro Monster, that film is a political drama about foreign affairs. It's just doing that through fucking aliens.
Right. It's so everything has something to say about something. I know that kind of a lot of people say all art is political. It's kind of a reductionist statement, but it is kind of true. But really what it means, what they mean to say, I think, is that everything has something to say about something where it comes from, right? And so, yeah, I mean, anything can have allegories of any kind if you choose to look for it. Maybe it's not there intentionally or whatever, but yeah.
I'd argue
it's always fun. It's a fun intellectual exercise.
I'd arguably, this is just my take on it, when it comes to dissecting art, it's about interpreting, I think, what the creator is going for. Peter Jackson's King Kong, not Peter Jackson's, the original King Kong movie, a lot of people thought that had an allegory, but Marion C. Cooper said he was not going for that. He was just going for a fun escapist film. And in that case, I take him at his word. But that's the fun, I think, interpreting art is interpreting what the artist was going for. Your interpretation might align with what the artist was saying, or it might, or it might not, or it might just be utter horseshit.
I mean, that's one of the cool things about media criticism in general is that the creator, can say, oh, actually, I was just going for this, but people are taking other things away from it that the person who created it didn't necessarily intend. It's kind of a sign of something that speaks for itself. That's a really good sign, I think, because it's sort of saying things without saying it, and it's saying it to people. It's speaking to people, and I think that is really a meaningful thing.
Exactly. But yeah, do we have anything more to say about Minus One?
Well, I just want to get y'all's predictions on how long do you think it's going to actually last at the U.S. movie theaters. I know they'll keep bringing them if people keep coming. The theater I was at last night was half full, and that's maybe even 2/3 full, and that's a lot for a non-U.S. theater that has no promotion or commercials whatsoever. So the word's getting around. So I want to know how long do y'all think it's going to stay?
I think it's gonna last. I think Toho is gonna keep pushing it till it gets a full run. That's what I think. Because it's not decreasing; it is increasing in box office numbers. More people is going to see -1 every time it's on. It's even catching up to its Japanese box office, and in Japan, it's doing great. It's a very well-performed movie. It's nominated for awards and all that shit. And I think even Jeiku can confirm people are still talking about it even now.
Oh, I mean, I literally went to see a movie at the theater over the weekend, and I mean, I don't know how many of the people I saw there were going specifically for -1, but there were a lot of people there. I mean, Wonka was showing in IMAX too, but I think it was actually already I think it was already being screened when I was pulling up. So, yeah, I think it's still doing pretty well. And I live out in a place that's considered countryside, even in the city is considered countryside in Japan. So, I'm assuming that it's still doing well because they're still showing it.
Exactly. And
the theater only has 8 screens. So.
Yeah, exactly. The film's doing great, and it's doing great here, too. It's catching up to Japan, and I think it's going to keep going even further. Yamazaki has displayed interest in a sequel. That could either be a Godzilla 2, a cinematic universe with Mothra and stuff like that. We'll see. Or Toho might just do another reboot, remake, reimagining, or whatever. I'm cool either way, though I think they should do a sequel, because a big reason the 90s movies of Godzilla performed so well is because they had a shared continuity.
I agree. Definitely need a sequel.
Yeah. They got so much going. They wanted to kind of... it was able to keep the Japanese audience still paying to see the Godzilla movies. The Millennium movies were still box office successes, besides Final Wars, unfortunately. But they weren't as successful as the Heisei era because, well, they were anthology. This, I think, could use they either need to do a sequel to this or Shin Godzilla if they want to keep making the money. But it's like, yeah, I think it's going to last for a while. It's still in the top 2. Like,
they have a very bad habit of not promoting their movies and shows like Dragon Ball across the United States and other stuff. They could make so much more money if they
Well, I think a big reason because of that is because, like, for example, in the U.S. alone, there's, like, we can put a lot of money into a movie because in America alone, there's a lot of people in this country who can, even if it's just successful in this country, it could make that movie profitable. While releasing it in other parts of the world, you're not sure if it's going to do as well as it is in your home country. In Japan, the movies are lower budget because, well, they mostly are relying on their own citizens, and even then, their country is way smaller than ours. Yeah, the UK is smaller than Japan, but the thing about the UK is they're speaking English. There's more worldwide appeal to a UK film, so they don't want to risk the chance of their movies of losing money by giving full promotion of a movie overseas. But I think with how successful this is doing, we might start getting full releases and full marketing of foreign films, which I think we should, because I think foreign media is better. The message here is better than anything Hollywood has told. It's better told. It's better acted. The effects are even better despite the lower budget. So, yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of...
Because they messed up Dragon Ball promotion so bad.
I mean, there are a few things about that. Japan is like one of the biggest entertainment consumer markets in the world. I think it's still in second place, second to the US. So the Japanese market is self-sustaining. So there's not really like a need to really push it overseas. If it does well, it does. If it doesn't, it nobody will lose sleep over it. It's kind of like the attitude that not just Japanese movie studios but record labels have also.
Your point, but I think it's wrong. It's literally the Austin Powers meme. Why make millions? Why make billions when we can make millions?
I mean, yeah, I know. It's I mean the
I do agree
you
with
know,
you.
the
Sosa.
US is so volatile to foreign movies.
I'll give you that
I
one.
worked I worked at a movie theater in America before coming to Japan, and one of the things that I noticed is that if it was unless it was a unless it was a Bollywood movie, a Japanese movie coming to the theater was always just an anime, like an animated movie, and it would get a limited screening. It would get screened for maybe like a week, and then it would be immediately ousted. Immediately. It's like considered this like super niche thing. But I don't know. I feel like the attitude needs to change in America also. And I think that's
agree
probably why
wholeheartedly.
promotion is, unless it's like a Studio Ghibli film or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get you. Like we need to keep up this promotion though of these other things because maybe Japan will start to learn. Because even though it's not Japan, Squid Game is another perfect example. If you just write the good content, we do not care if it's in English. We will buy it.
Unless it's Parasite and it gets nominated for Best Picture and wins, then you get people, it's not even English.
Yeah. True, I get that, but like I think people had an expectation that it was going to be in English, and therefore they got thrown off. No one has been doing it with Squid Game or this one.
Oh, sure. No, I mean, yeah. I just thought that's funny.
exactly.
No, I think it's funny.
But anyway, that being said, Godzilla Minus One is a masterpiece. It overall did everything that I wanted and more. I can't wait to see more of this. I hope it keeps going. Even the Godzilla official account said, don't expect it. It's not going anywhere anytime soon because people just keep paying to see it. So yeah. That said, I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. Overall, it's one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. It's so good. The drama is hard-hitting. It's scary. The action is exciting. It has a very heart-wrenched ending that hits in all the right ways. And it's just, as a whole, a very well-crafted masterpiece. I'm going to give it a 10. Best Godzilla movie we've had in years.
I give it a 9.7 on a realistic scale. I give it a 13 out of 10 when we compare it to every other movie made nowadays, pretty much.
Well said, well said. Like I said, I wanted your perspective since you're kind of an outsider to Godzilla.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about all these other films or anything like that. I barely even watched the other modern Godzilla movies. Barely.
If you like this one, check out the 54 original and Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, like I know I'm spoiled. I know that I'm stupid whenever I say this, but it's hard for me to watch those old school movies because the lack of effects just takes me out of it.
That's not what art's about, though. What art is about is not how real it looks, but what they did with it. Like Shiro Sano said about King Kong vs. Godzilla, it's not about looking real, it's about showing they can do it. And that's what makes old movies so good. As for Shin Godzilla is not old. Shin Godzilla was 2016.
No, I get it. And that one I'm more likely to check out. It's just, like, I have so many things on my list. You're probably going to hear from me in, like, 2 or 3 years and be like, I finally watched it. And then we'll do a whole review on it.
I'd be interested. I can't wait for that day to come. I think you'll love Shin Godzilla. It's different from this, but also similar in areas. But yeah.
You know what? If it's on a streaming site, I'll probably put it on sometime soon in the background, and if it catches my attention, then I'll watch it with more fervor.
Good to know. But anyway, Cody, Cody's not here because I don't know what happened. What do you give it, Jeiku?
So I rated it. I use IMDb to catalog what I watch and how I feel about them. I gave this an 8 out of 10, but an 8 rating out of 10 for me is a really high score. It's outside of my standard deviation. I'm more likely to give a movie a 6 or a 7. So it left a very strong positive opinion for me. So yeah.
Good to know. But yeah. Phenomenal movie. For those who haven't seen Minus One, go watch it. It's one of the greatest films. It's the best film of the year. I just can't help it. I just can't stretch that enough. It's so good.
Do you think it's Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yes, by far. By far.
Really? I don't know, man. I like Spider-Man a lot. And we all know that out of all of you, I am the most right-wing MCU hating person out there. But I thought Spider-Man No Way Home. I thought the latest Spider-Man movie was fucking top tier.
I liked it, but no, it's no Minus One. What about you, Jeiku?
It did not leave the same impression for me as Godzilla Minus One. I was just like, yeah, okay. I was never that into the Marvel stuff to begin with, and Spider-Man didn't do anything to change that. So
makes sense. But let's move on. Since we got our thoughts on Minus One out of the way, let's move on to let's all get our reactions and thoughts on this new MonsterVerse trailer, even for those who ain't acquainted with it. Like, I want to hear you guys' thoughts after watching Minus One, because this is very different.
All right.
Okay.
For most of human civilization, we believed that life could only exist on the surface of our planet. What else were we wrong about?
Welcome to my world. Won't you come on in?
Of course, I gotta say the visual effects here still look phenomenal. Like look at that fur right here move. This is the big budget put to use when he jumps. Unlike in a lot of fucking Marvel movies, this actually looks good. Alice said, "How are you guys doing?" We're doing pretty good. But it's like, yeah, like Kong doesn't have that much different of an appearance since the last film.
This world has more secrets than we could possibly imagine.
Miracles I get. Still now and then.
And it's ugly. Now this thing here, like, I'm not sure how many of you guys are aware, but the original King Kong had a sequel that came out the same year called Son of Kong, where you followed a young ape. I'm pretty sure that's what this ugly bastard is supposed to be. But I hope he's not this annoying, overly childish character that's just here to appeal to kids and shit like that.
It probably will be. And why in the heck does he have red hair?
Well, he's not Kong's he's not Kong's son. Kong found him.
Because
Kong's adopting him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he might be more related to the Scar King, which is the enemy of the movie.
What is that?
That's not Kong. What could have done this?
And of course, we're getting a bigger look at the Hollow Earth in this one, which there's a lot of underdeveloped ideas in Godzilla vs. Kong. Even though I love Godzilla vs. Kong, there is a lot of, it's too short for its own good. But one of the things people complained about it that I did not agree with was not exploring the Hollow Earth enough, because the thing about Godzilla vs. Kong is it intentionally introduced that place out of nowhere and left it ambiguous for this film to explore. And it looks like we are getting to see the Hollow Earth more. We are getting to see more of Kong's race, all the creatures that are on it better. We are getting to understand the Hollow Earth better. While in the last movie, like the humans, it was our first time looking at it, so we were kind of confused what it was. Here, I don't know what the fuck that's going on here.
Kong can't stop this on his own.
He won't be alone.
Now, I do want to say, there are some worrying effects I want to see. Like, here's a good effect. Like, that's a good effect as you're seeing his body slowly come out of the water, rocks and snow falling off it. But here's a part that I do have to say. Like, this part right here, anyone else feel that it's kind of lacking detail on his arms? They look kind of flat with no veins.
Not me personally, but I openly admit that I am one of those people that I don't see what everyone else complains about whenever it comes to effects. Like, they look fine to me.
Well, like I said, the effects I mentioned earlier looked great, but here is a little concerning because I think the arms look flat. What about you, Jeiku? Just to get your thoughts on this trailer. I don't know if he's there. So let's go back to the trailer. Now that looks cool.
Yeah. But Joey, pause it for a sec. You drive me nuts with those memes. I know they're jokes, but I guarantee you there's other people who actually think people are complaining about a pink Godzilla when there's not. Like, you drive me nuts with those memes. I'm like, it's fake news! Ah!
Oh, come on. It's fun to poke fun. You know me. I poke fun at both sides.
People are going to think that that there are people complaining about it, and they're going to buy into that stupid propaganda. I know you're joking. I completely know, and it's probably just me being too sensitive. But I know there's people who are actually thinking that.
Fair. I just thought they were funny. Like, you saw, like, I'm not doing with the right either, because you saw that meme I shared of Kong and Godzilla running and saying stuff like, me putting all the fiction, the women's rights books in the fiction section.
No, I know. It's just people. I know there's people who are not going to get it. That's the problem.
I get it. I get that. Fair enough. In front of this one, if you couldn't tell, is another ape.
You can already see the plot happening. That's the big bad father of the ape that goes to Kong, and Kong has to take over this new tribe of apes because this one's evil.
Exactly. And overall, I think there's a lot of potential here. Some people are mad because of it's another ape, which is like, I don't care. Like, there's another kaiju that I won't spoil for anybody who hasn't seen the leak of the other kaiju. And it's like, plus, this gives us another side of Kong's species other than Kong himself. But let's take a look more. Man, I love those effects. That part just was fucking awesome.
Yeah, but Godzilla running away from Kong? No,
he's not running away from Kong. He's running with Kong. Like the last movie they fought, here is their allies. Like, what they're doing is running together in style.
Running away from what?
No, they're not running away from something. They're running towards something from what I'm gathering. I'm not sure what they're running towards, but what I'm gathering here is this is probably the big badass moment near the end of them getting ready to stop the Scar King.
Okay.
The thing is, the MonsterVerse are much more campy popcorn flicks, and that's why they're so fun. I'm not expecting -1 from this, but more so old Fukuda era Godzilla, the 70s era. Like, cheesy popcorn entertainment.
Okay. Looks like he has a Infinity Gauntlet on.
Godzilla looks like he lost weight here compared to the other MonsterVerse flicks.
Is that a mini Kong?
overall, I think it looks fun. I do hope they fix some of my previous flaws with the MonsterVerse, because even though it's a more fun and tongue-in-cheek story, they could do simple characters better. Because one of the things I don't like about King of the Monsters and stuff like that is the characters are just okay in King of the Monsters. While I feel like since they're taking notes from the Late Showa era's book, they should do that with the characters too and go for something more simple and fun rather than just having them there to kind of move the plot along. But overall, even if though I expect the characters to stay just okay, what I also expect, like the previous MonsterVerse films, amazing special effects for the most part, exciting action scenes, a at least good soundtrack, and overall cheesy popcorn fun. And I love how they're really leaning into the fantasy direction here.
I agree. Like, I'm excited for it.
Yep. Though I will say, watch the other MonsterVerse films first from 2014, Skull Island, King of the Monsters. Huh?
I did see those.
Oh, what'd you think?
They're okay.
I think they're fun. They're not the best example of campy Godzilla done right. Like, there's better examples.
Fun. They're nothing more than that, though.
Huh?
Yeah, I agree with you. They're fun. They're nothing more than that, though.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's better Godzilla movies, but overall, they do what they're trying to do. Even though I do think there is room for improvement there, but yeah, I'm excited for it. It's good that we got so much Godzilla stuff coming from Minus One to the Monarch series airing to now this. It all looks so good. Tokupunk Productions said, all I could think of seeing the pyramids is ROTF in Linkin Park, LOL. Linkin Park's classic.
Why does have King Kong have on an Infinity Gauntlet, though?
I don't know, but we're going to have to see where that goes, because there's a lot of crazy shit in this trailer that we can only speculate right now since there's no context, but they're doing that intentionally.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I would like to know a little bit more, but it's pretty, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just going to end up being another one of those fun movies that doesn't really have, like, that much plot behind it.
Well, I don't mind simple plots. My criticism for stuff like Godzilla vs. Kong, I felt like it crammed too much in to its story for it to really properly chew it. Like, for example, Ren Serizawa was a wasted potential. Most people wouldn't even know that he was Dr. Serizawa's son. Well, here, so I'm hoping they kind of fix that. If they're going to do simplicity, fix those flaws and make it where there's a better dynamic with the cast other than to mainly move the story along with bits of personality here and there.
You know what I just realized?
Huh?
You know what I just realized?
What's up?
The echo in the background was me because I accidentally had YouTube on in the background streaming your thing at the same time, and I didn't even realize till now.
That's fine. I know how that feels.
Yeah, well, at least you got some good watch time on it.
Exactly.
Bro, like, I think I shared it with you, but, like, what are your thoughts on Godzilla being officially above Superman? That's freaking awesome.
I think it's fucking awesome. Like, a lot of Superman fans are coping, but it's like, hey, it's official canon. Godzilla whooped his ass. And the Justice League's hits, they even said themselves, we're just annoyances to him.
And that means that they automatically think that Goku, like, because recently Goku vs. Superman got a number 3 video on Screw Attack. And I have all the same people, you know, I did a debunk video and they're all coping the same way. Like, oh man, you're just hating. Oh, Superman's OP. I'm like, no, Godzilla beats Superman and there's no way that you think Goku can lose to Godzilla. Like, what is wrong with you?
Alice said, I don't really judge a movie off of effects anymore to me. It just sounds like a lazy way to brush off writing at this point. Any thoughts? Yeah, given any thoughts? You got any thoughts on my opinion? I disagree. Like, here's my thought on art. For me, it's a collaborative art form. Like, it's a work of the special effects artist. It's the work of the writer. It's the work of the actor. It's the work of the composer. And all this together is what makes Minus One a masterpiece, because the writing gives some great justification. We got the actors to bring more life and emotion into the characters and their scenarios. And of course, we got the special effects to make all the things much more exciting and terrifying. So I think it's a collaborative effort when it comes to art. If we're just to judge writing, I'd review books.
Yeah, although I agree with you, though, it's more important to focus on the writing. I do agree with her sentiment, although I agree with your overall take more.
Okay. I appreciate that, because like for me, it's all a collaborative work, and that's what makes stuff like Minus One work. And like I said, I do love the MonsterVerse is going for a more simple Fukuda late Showa era like approach, but I do think if they're gonna do that, they need to stop. One, don't do the MCU style of comedy. That doesn't work. Also, don't try to cram in too much. Like, keep everything in line with your runtime, just like those old Showa Godzilla movies. And also, keep the characters simple while also building a likable dynamic that makes their scenes have much more weight than simply being there to move the plot along. There's more weight to the characters in the MonsterVerse than simply moving the plot, just a little. But overall, you could tell they're mainly there in the MonsterVerse to move the plot. But overall, I think it's going to be great. There's going to be a lot of cool action. I'm interested in what we're going to see in the Hollow Earth. And it's seeing Godzilla run with Kong to clearly do something much bigger. It's just utterly amazing. But yeah. But yeah.
It looks like the volcano in the background. Maybe that's what they're running from.
I don't think they're, like, we'll see, but like I said, I don't think they're running from anything. I think they're running towards something. But we'll have to see. Right now, we don't have context. Tokupunk Productions said it's going to be stupid or peak, pretty much. But I'm excited. I'm just happy we're getting some Godzilla content. Huh?
I agree, exactly. It's either going to be the stupid or peak.
Yeah. Tokupunk Productions said EDP and Mr. Anime when they see a cupcake. But anyway, unless you have anything more to say, Sosa.
No, I'm good. I was just about to say that it's about time for me to hop off anyways, but it looks like we're coming up to conclusion nicely and naturally.
Yeah, like, I enjoyed doing this podcast with all of you. It was fun to discuss all of this Godzilla stuff, discussing it with a hardcore fan like Kaiju Cody, a just growing fan like Jeiku, and someone with a very light experience with the franchise like yourself. It got so many different perspectives on so many different works that just made it all the more fun, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree, and I look forward to promoting this stream so that we can spread the word about Godzilla more, because we need to make this movie succeed. So share this around, everybody.
Exactly. And thank you for coming on. It was nice having you.
Yeah, of course. I try to come on whenever I understand y'all's material, which isn't often, but...
Yeah, which is completely understandable. But watch more Godzilla movies. I guarantee you'll like them.
Yep. And everybody check out my Goku vs. Superman 3 debunk, and my channel on there, too. Joey, I'm sure I'll link it in the description later on and stuff.
Okay, indeed. But that said,
promote Street Hardcore. That way other people can, really get an understanding of why they should go see it.
Exactly. But this is Gojin the Makai Phantom, leaving the building.
See y'all.